Ooh, that was good timing. Did you just do a rip? No, I'm kidding. All right, I think
I can do a good approximation. Here, give me some.
No, I can too. We used to do that when I was a kid. Hold on, here. Let's do a comparison. Ready? Okay, you first. Let it rip.
Mm-mm.
Ooh, that was close.
Uh-uh.
That was close. Come on, Aux. Show us your skills, brother. Ooh, that's good.
There's still a lack of like base to it. There should be bigger bubbles. That's like a tiny bong. That was like a little bitty like half-inch bong. I'm talking 2-inch. Yeah, that's a little better. That's more of a bubbler. We both are like rocking little bubblers, not full.
Yeah,
full like 2-inch
full...
acrylic bongs. Those are little bubblers.
We tried. Hey, somebody in chat said a notification brought him here. That's amazing. That means I did the title right.
What?
If you do the title right, people get notifications. If you put anything in there that's controversial, no go.
I need to actually be in the chat. I forgot.
You better get in that chat right now. How else are you gonna get triggered if you're not in the chat, bro? Okay, here, let's see. I got a copy link because I haven't done this in like 2 weeks, so it's all like it's not like riding a bike at all, guys.
I know, right?
I gotta read that. Okay,
we don't want to touch on live chat.
All right,
me too. Got a notification. Cool. Thanks, you guys. That's good to know.
TikTok live. All right, everybody go tweet the stream out too. Today, I want to see if we can hit 50,000 live viewers.
Yeah, right.
I just want to see if quiet, man. No, that's normal. That's perfectly normal. Like if everybody retweets and then they threaten the next person to retweet, it should be good. Let's see. Okay, so where's my topics? Topics. I actually love that movie. That ice skating movie. What was it called? Not Cool Runnings. What the hell am I thinking? The one where the figure skater and the hockey skater like do their thing or whatever.
Oh yeah. That was a really fun movie. No,
I loved it.
What was that one?
She keeps like wrecking the dude, and she's like toe peek because he doesn't know how to stop, like on figure skates.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember they played that song, Groove Master, Master Blaster. Don't you want to see me roll? I love that song.
Hockey player movie. Here we go. It's called The Cutting Edge.
Cutting Edge. Oh, if you haven't seen that, that is a great movie.
That is actually pretty funny. Yeah,
I loved it.
It's good. It's good.
I watched it a couple times.
Man, I haven't seen that in a long, long time, but I remember enjoying it.
It's old. It's got that. I can't remember the name of the actor who's in it.
Isn't it Val Kilmer?
No, it's not Val Kilmer. It kind of looks like him a little bit. But he was like in every movie.
DB Sweeney.
Yeah, DB Sweeney.
He was in
he's
a very
single 90s movie.
Yeah.
And then he just disappeared. I don't even know if he's still alive, honestly.
Yeah. He seems to be still alive according to Wikipedia.
Wait, was he in Happy Gilmore? I don't remember him in Happy Gilmore.
He kind of looks like Tony Hawk.
He does a little bit.
Let's see.
He was like in everything. Like
I'm like he was on a bunch of TV shows.
Yeah.
in the 2000s, the early 2000s. Dang.
Oh wait, he was on the show Be Positive recently. Okay, so he's still alive. Former
cast member on C16, voicing Aladar, the Iguanodon in the film Dinosaur. He was on House. He was on Jericho, which underrated show. Would have been really cool if that had kept going. That was really fun.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's pretty slick. I think it only lasted like 2 seasons. But like it follows this town, like this little Kansas town called Jericho, after like a nuke goes off somewhere far. It's like they see the big, and then it's like follows like the town, in the aftermath of it and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Sounds familiar, like something I've seen. Kind of like that show, The 100.
Yeah, that's a kind of interesting one too. That I stopped because it turned into like a teen drama, and I'm not into that.
Are you talking like the last season or?
No, I just watching the first few episodes of it. I'm like, this is gonna be like fucking. We're past long enough.
Yeah, we're good. We're past 30 seconds. That's away.
Too much like Riverdale. I could feel it was becoming like Riverdale. It was going to be just a bunch of teen drama nonsense that I don't need to hear a bunch of pretty teenagers or young 20s pretending to be teenagers like whine about their social
Yeah, they should have went more with Lord of the Flies kind of thing.
Yeah,
they should have been like ugly people, like
or
fat
just
dudes eating all the food, skinny dudes doing all the drugs. Like what was that? Lost? Like Lost.
Lost was pretty. Yeah, that was
awesome.
a good. But even then, I got pissed off at Lost. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing in that movie.
The end was such a cop out. Though.
The whole
like I wish I never watched the last season. Like
I guarantee the way they pitched that movie was like, here's this first season, and after that, we're just gonna see how long we can string it along. We really have no idea what we're doing. Or they changed the whole writing crew or something, because that whole show did not go anywhere.
Yeah.
Did not resolve anything, did not do anything or tell any sort of story. And then they tried to wrap it all up in the end is like, oh, they everybody had died. Spoilers, by the way, if you hadn't seen it in 12 years or whatever. Everybody died in the plane crash, and the island was just purgatory. Like everything about the weird company thing, the numbers, the sciencey weird stuff. No, it was all fake and nonsense.
Yeah, all that build up and all those like side quests and like none of it meant anything. It was just like, oh yeah, you had a bad dream, you died, and basically had a dream while you were waiting to get heaven.
Yeah, I was like that out, and because as popular as it did, and it just like freaked out, and or whoever had the plan died or disappeared or didn't tell anybody, and like they just got lost. Literally, they lost their own thread, and it was awful.
That's kind of what I feel like with some of these shows.
Audio.
Okay, audio should be fine.
Robot voice for anyone else?
Oh, we got two people complaining. Hold on,
just me?
Did I forget to mute one of the streams? Hold on, let me go through and look.
Yep, refresh. Yep, for a sec.
Okay, why do we got robot audio?
Audio was crazy for a moment. Back to normal now.
Okay. It might have just been like a buffering thing.
Okay.
Here, let me listen back here.
See my dog's face.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. I feel like a lot of these shows, like Game of Thrones and what we were just talking about, like Lost. I feel like you're right that they just write, and then when the show doesn't get picked up again, or they lose their main actors or whatever, and they can't get around it, they're just like, okay, we got to quick. We got like 3 episodes to throw something together, and then,
at least
wraps it all up.
At least Game of Thrones had a plan. Like they had the books. They knew what they were doing up to a certain point, and then they caught up to the books, and they just kind of had to make it up after that. But they at least had some. I'm sure they were talking with George R.R. Martin about like, hey, we caught up to you. What should we do now? Like, I'm sure they had some consultation there. Lost
it was like canon up to the last season.
Yeah, they were following the books. I mean, I'm sure with some like, wiggles there. I don't think it was very strict, but I remember I've never followed it very long. It was too confusing. I couldn't keep track of everything. But I remember there a lot of talk that like they're coming up. Like there's 2 seasons. There's with the pace they're going, they're catching up to the books. They're catching up to the end of where the story is. And there was a lot of pressure on Martin to finish. And he's like, fuck you. I write these books when I want. And I think he's put out 1 extra book or 1 book that is within that storyline that they didn't go past, I think, after the fact or something. And there's even articles about him like, man, I really should have put that book out and like that kind of stuff. It's just nonsense.
So the writers went from just having to basically transpose the books into screen format for time to having to write the whole story basically from there on out.
I got that feeling. There's some talk here in the chat about like, hey, apparently he told the writers the basic storyline in case he died, which I guess, you give him some bullet points, whatever his outlines are, right? Like the stuff that he's building his own books off of. But
I didn't like the fact
people talking about things rushed. They don't know fuck all about. By all means, correct. Add your own 2 cents instead of complaining.
Well, I mean, he couldn't be talking about us because we obviously know what the fuck we're talking about.
What exactly?
I mean, if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't
more than happy to learn. I did not. I totally just said I did not follow Game of Thrones. I didn't read the books. By all means, clarify.
It reminds me of the story.
You know what'd be funny? What'd be funny is if we could pull them in. Say, here, come on, explain to the 88 people now watching. I would. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, come on in here. Tell us the truth. Let's hear the real story.
I'm a little spicy.
It's okay. I've been spicy this whole week, so this will work out just fine.
But I am genuinely curious, like what is off? Because I have no idea about any of this stuff. There's little bits that I remember seeing from like article headlines and stuff at the time. So
all I know is if Mr. Martin wrote that final episode, he's failed.
I heard it. I heard a lot of people were disappointed in that last season.
I waited so long to see the Lannisters just get like slowly and painfully just like murdered to death, and all it was is just the cave goes and they're dead. It's like implied. It's like every single episode you see everybody just get like tortured and dismembered, right? Like the bad people eventually get their comeuppance, and it's like this is just such a cop out. It's like they basically have like their little last incest moment kissing, and then like the cave like blows apart and they're dead, like nothing. And I'm like, are you serious? Like all that buildup and everything, like from the beginning on forward, and all the stories connected, and that's how you ended it. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, I didn't like that.
To hear right during yesterday's stream, you guys going to play D&D tomorrow. Tomorrow. And kind of in the morning ish. Yeah, I think it's 11. Did you say 11 a.m.? Go. Where did OZ Boggin Goo? I thought he was going to explain what we got wrong.
You know what? He's on Google right now, making sure that what he remembers is right.
Oh, okay. I mean,
that's what happens when you call somebody out. They got to run to Google and be like, "Oh God, oh geez, I gotta make sure that how I remembered is correct."
Right.
It's fine. It saves us a trip.
It's fine. I mean, look, man, that goes to a lot of different things. As a younger person, I was often like the smartest guy in the group. And I learned,
I ate glue.
I learned you speak with authority and whatnot, and people just tend to believe you, and that's bad. That they can go wrong. So I'm more than willing to be corrected, and oftentimes, despite sometimes I will be very like defensive of what I think is correct. I'll eat crow if I'm proved wrong, and I have often been embarrassed at how vehemently I have defended my position only to turn out to be wrong. And it
happens to me all the time. I'll tell you what, the fastest way to learn in life, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Okay. My opinion speaking here, guys, not fact, but in my life, I found that I learn much better when I remain open-minded on something that I'm definitely, peak of the Dunning-Kruger, remain open-minded and be wrong. Because when you're wrong, other people will offer other information.
Yeah.
And so you end up learning about things by other people catching that you were wrong about something and dialing it in, correcting it. It could be a little wrong. It could be a lot of wrong. It could be just adding something to the conversation that you learned something along because they heard you talking about it. But I found that it's an amazing way to learn to make mistakes, especially in software development. A lot of people in software development, they're like, oh man, I guess, dude, just set up a VM that you can absolutely destroy to the ground and just go ham on it. Doesn't matter if you destroy the operating system, snapshot it back and just make mistake after mistake after mistake, because each one of the mistakes that you make is going to make it clear why there's a better way to do it. Like, not just there's a better way, because one thing I found out with software developers is they always say, oh, there's only one way to do that, or this is the optimal way to do that. And it's like, well, why? Do you know why it's the optimal way? And a lot of them are just like, oh, no, we were just taught that this is the optimal way and this is how it's done. But it's like, no, there are other situations where you don't want to do it the optimal way. Like the optimal way is very dependent on how you're using it. And so they get into this habit of there's only one right way to do it. Well, when you do it the wrong way and you figure out certain things are wrong in one situation, but right in another situation, you start coming up with all kinds of edge cases that other people didn't think about, because that kind of thinking wasn't taught in school. A lot of stuff that's taught in school is like, book learning and what the consensus is as far as the literature and who's teaching to say what is right and what is wrong. I find in software development, it's like art. Like how do you tell somebody that their art is right or wrong? You don't. People do it all the time.
Art,
but you can't,
art,
right?
Subjective. Like, don't even go down that path.
Yeah. I remember going because my grandma was a somewhat famous artist, Leslie Cadillac. She had art in the Bellevue Museum and a couple of museums around Washington and I think another state. Hey. And I actually have some of her work in my upstairs closet thing. I should pull that out and appraise it and see if like one of them's like Van Gogh money yet. Probably not. But I remember going to art shows with her when I was a kid. And people would just walk up and look at her art and be like, "Oh, and I love the way that, you know, she accentuated the light with like using this paint and this very specific sheen and this mixture to like capture the moment." And they literally sit there and talk about it and just like smelling their own farts. And then another person would walk up right after him and be like, "Yeah, I don't like the harsh lighting, and these angles are clearly not the way that you want to do that to emphasize the scale of it." So it's like one group would be like, "This is amazing because of that," and then the next group would come by and be like, "Oh, this is garbage because of that same thing that they liked." And each one of them brings like a different perspective. And then my grandma's like, I just do what I like. I just like, well, I like to paint.
that's part of it too, though, is like when you put art out there, you as an artist do not, I've found, in my opinion, I suppose this is an opinion piece. I like when you put something out there and say, this is art. Okay, actually, context. Rewind this a little bit. So when a person says, "Here's my art," this is art.
Yeah,
it immediately forces the viewer to see it for more than what it is, to attempt to see
100%
beyond the like basic this thing, right? Like,
yeah, it's like that banana hanging on the wall.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
As ridiculous as that is, it by the very claim of saying this is art.
Yeah,
forces the viewer to then go, okay, this is weird. Because you can't say no, that's not art. You can't.
Yeah, because somebody has said subjective, right? So you can't definitively say it's not.
So it forces the viewer to go into a contemplative sort of mode. Like, okay, well then what are they trying to say here? Okay, if this is art, this is clearly more than just a banana attached to the wall with duct tape. So you start searching for a message there, right? Because generally art is an attempt to communicate something, some message. What I find troubling is when artists say, "No, that is not right. That you are interpreting it wrong." And to me, or like when they get all stuffy about it and say, "Oh, well, you clearly don't understand. You don't understand what I'm trying to say." Well, then you're not communicating right. Or I'm clearly not the audience you're attempting to communicate to. That doesn't mean I'm like wrong or bad, or I mean maybe wrong.
Yeah.
But it never really sat well with me, the attempts of artists to like raise themselves above the masses, I guess, and say, "Oh, well, you're clearly too stupid to see what I'm trying to say here, and I'm not going to lower myself and explain." Well, then you did a bad job of communicating your message.
Yeah, because insulting people is not the way to get them on your side.
Yeah, but now if you just throw it out there, if you just throw it out there, if you just put your art out there and accept the interpretations, I feel like that's a better way to go.
Totally.
And say, "Whoa, okay, I was trying to communicate my pain or the beauty that still exists within the destruction of whatever." But that's an interesting interpretation too. Like, clear your perception filters are giving you a different message than what I intended to say. And that goes for anything, like a speech, a book, paintings, music, whatever. People are going to get from it very different things than what often the author intended.
Oh, 100%. Like stuff that you didn't even see. Like, I mean,
and it's like, that's okay. Once it's art, once you say a thing is art, I feel like the artist doesn't own the interpretation. And they don't have the right to say that I'm wrong in my interpretation.
I feel like it's okay if you create a piece of art to say what your intentions are, but you have to be able to allow people to experience it in their way. I mean, that's part of art, right? You can't, if you have to tell somebody, that's like, what do they call it? Foreshadowing. If you have to foreshadow the art and tell the person like what they're supposed to believe while looking at it, you failed as an artist.
I think so.
If your goal is to, get them to have an emotional response of some kind, regardless of how they interpret it to get that emotional response, then I think that's a pretty good goal.
I think it's okay to have an intent to say, "Hey, I did this piece, and what I was trying to go for here was this." But the trouble is when you put it out there for public consumption and people say, "Oh, well, I feel this when I've consumed your art," and you go, "Well, that's not right. You are wrong. You're not. You're holding it wrong." The whole iPhone 4 complaint, right? That's where things go off the rails for me. You don't get to tell me that my interpretation of your art is wrong.
I love the YouTube videos where they troll the art. They troll the art critics. Have you seen that where it's like somebody will just go? There's this guy, I can't remember his name. He's really famous for pranks.
But they'll bring in a couple other like real stuffy kind of people and they're, "Oh yes, this is a Johannes Brixel book," and it's like, "Oh yeah," and the guy like kind of just joins in on the whole thing. "Oh yeah, I heard of that guy."
Exactly, the group mentality, right?
The Kardashians did that. They tricked their mom into buying some random like $25 piece of art by playing it up, saying, "Oh yeah, this is a Georget blah 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 from and they totally tricked her into buying this thing and thinking it was like some big famous piece. And
that's a real scam that happens in Italy all the time.
Art.
Like I was watching a YouTube video with this guy that goes to Asian countries and he goes around and tourist areas and stuff, and he looks like a tourist and acts like a tourist, but he actually speaks the native language.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And oh god, what's his name? Something Sam and anyways, dude goes and travels around and he lets himself be a mark. He lets people run the scams on him so that he can make videos explaining how the scams work. And then he calls them on it. And one of the coolest scams that I saw as far as that, capitalizing on that hive mentality is there was a guy who set up an art booth. There's like this art row where everybody sets up and does their art. And he literally just draws stick figures. So he has people like sitting down to pose, like somebody comes over and sits in the chair and it's all staged, right? And the scammers stage this. So they bring a person in and they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to paint your portrait." So they do like a stick figure and, it takes them like 20 seconds and they do like a little sun or whatever. And you're like, "Oh my God, is this some kind of a joke?" And they have art of all the people that they've sketched and it all looks like the same stick man, just with like either boobs or a wiener or whatever. And people are sitting down for it and they're like, "Oh my God, I've always wanted one of these. Hey, I've been following you on YouTube. Your work is amazing." Like, and so tourists would just get pulled in by it. And tourists would come over and be like, "Oh wow, that dude just bought that. Wait, that's only $5. That guy over there said he sold his for $100 on eBay." And so they're like, "Oh," even though they don't understand it, it doesn't make sense. They're listening and they're like, "Oh, I got insider information now. I understand." It's like the Andy Warhol effect, right? It's like a picture of a can of beans, but it's so much more because these people said it was. And not to say Andy Warhol wasn't. I mean, he was an amazing artist, like the way that he presented his art, but the way I see it is it's that hive mentality that sells it. Same thing with NFTs, right? NFTs suffer from the same damn thing right now, where it's like if you got Logan Paul going, "Oh my God, dude, these apes are sick, bro. Look, I got this ape. I love it so much, man." Like it's great. People are just running out buying apes, going, "Oh my God, all I see is a shitty drawing of an ape." But if Logan Paul is talking about it, it must be great. This thing must be awesome. So then they get it, and then their friends are jealous because they're like, "Oh my God, you got the same thing that Logan's got. I want to get one of those." And then next thing you know, it's worth a ton because it was artificially inflated to be worth a ton because everybody believed it was worth a ton when it wasn't, and they made it worth a ton by believing the lie and making it worth a ton. So it's kind of like that whole mentality where it's like, rapper goes to LA or whatever with, $3 in his bank account, takes out a loan, leases a car, leases a house, shoots a rap video about how cool it is to be super rich and have all these women and everything around him when they're dead broke. Yep. And then that record pops and then they get the money, they repay the loans, and now they're living that lifestyle that they portrayed previously. It's like that's the trick, right? Fake it till you make it. And that works across everything, especially with art. But like one of the funniest videos I saw on YouTube was this guy. He goes into an art gallery, this is a real art gallery. He eventually gets kicked out of it. He goes into a real art gallery and it's right off of that really famous street in LA, down in Hollywood. What is it? Rodeo. Yeah, Rodeo Drive, where all the stores are. There's an art gallery down there. And he goes into the art gallery and he takes his Burger King sandwich that he has, like his Whopper, half unwraps it, takes a bite of it, and just sets it on a pedestal that's sitting there. He just sets it on the pedestal. And then what he does is he sits there and goes like this. He looks at it and he's like, wow. And then somebody walks over and they're kind of confused, like, because it's way out of place, right? Like the other art in this place is so much different, right? And they're looking at it, they're like, whoa, like, and he's like, wow, man, yeah, this artist, I heard about him. He's just a visionary. Like, can't you see it? And then the guy's like looking at it and he's like, no. Like, what do you see? And he's like, oh, I see, hunger and hunger for life and representative of like, how we like to consume mass quantities and he's just making up shit. It's clear he's making up shit because he's skipping all over stuff. And the guy's like, no, I totally see it. And then he starts like looking around and he's like, oh, where's the plaque? Like, how much is this? Like he's like ready to buy this dude's like half-eaten sandwich, and there's no plaque because it's just the pedestal, and they haven't put anything on it yet. They're setting up, and then the security guy comes over and he's like, "Excuse me, sir. Like, where's your badge? Like, are you a exhibitionist here? Like, what's going on?" And then he just leaves with his camera, and he just leaves the burger sitting there on the pedestal. I was like, and then I saw another one where they did it with KFC. They just took a half-eaten piece of a chicken bone and just set it next to another piece of art that was like on a little pedestal, and they thought that it was a part of that art project. It was like a sculpture and then just like a half-eaten chicken wing next to it or whatever, and people were like taking pictures of it. I was like, it's weird. You can do it. It's like people just they code switch in those environments, right? They try to fit in. They think they assume that they're cultured because they're in culture, right? This is a place of culture. Thereby, if I do what other people do, then I'm a cultured person myself.
That's it. It's like social proof kind of stuff,
and that's how you manipulate people, man. That's like the foundation of being a con artist.
Yeah,
I mean, a con artist is a confidence man, right?
In a big way. Yeah,
you're giving somebody confidence and giving you money. That's what a con man is. Like con men aren't just regular thieves. Like a regular thief's like consequence. There's a gun pointed at you. Give me your money, right?
Yeah.
However, it's way different when you're a con man because you can get them to hand you the money and be happy to do it. That's where the con man aspect comes into it, is when you can create a scheme where somebody will hand you copious amounts of money when it's very obvious that they won't get it back.
Yeah.
And they're happy to do it. You are the best con man ever. That is like the measure of a good con man. And so, and that's why a lot of con men don't even get caught and they don't even get brought to justice, because it's like, they go to the police office and it's like, okay, well, did you give the guy money? Did you guys have a contract?
Right.
Did you have stipulate like why did you give him the money? Like was there any requirements? Did he deliver on those requirements? And it's like nothing's in writing, and they're like, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it.
It's like the Tinder swindler kind of thing.
Exactly.
Where it's like there's not really a legal recourse because like they willingly gave. I mean, there might be a leg to stand on for fraud, maybe, but like they gave him that money.
Yep.
Like willingly, and hey man, that's it's shitty, but they like he lied and stuff, but it's not like he's not like it's I don't know, it was a weird fuzzy thing because like partly because like international laws and stuff, because like he was in Israel or something when they sent the money from London or whatever, but it's similar.
It is, and you see it with like escorts. Like this is a really big thing with escorts, is basically you give the perception that you're going to give companionship overnight, like you are going to basically sleep with them, right?
Yeah.
You because you can go all the way up to that line because you're like, but I'm not doing it for money. I do it if I choose to. They word it that way, right? It's like, okay, you give me $200 an hour, and if anything else happens, that's not for the money. That's of our own, adult consent or whatever. So you're like, woohoo, I'm gonna do this. And then they show up, they take your $200 and hang out, and they're like, sorry, I gotta go. And you're like, oh, but and they're like, but what? I got my $200. See, what are you gonna do? You can't do anything. You go to the cops. Oh, this lady came and ripped me off. It's like, well, that would be illegal if you paid for sex. So are you saying that you propositioned this lady? And you're like, oh shit, I can't. Touche.
That's it. It's like stealing money from the drug dealer. What's he gonna do?
Exactly.
What's he gonna do? He's gonna report you to the fuzz. Well, okay, he stole your money. Where did you get the money? Like what? That kind of thing. Yeah.
I remember a Cops episode when I was a kid where that happened. Where the drug dealer actually called the cops because he was like super methed out and he's like licking his lips. I remember he's like, and the cops show up, he's like, yeah, man, they took like $10,000 or whatever. And they're like, okay, well, where was the $10,000? He's like, I had it in a box over here. And they're like, you had it in a box? And then he shows them the box and there's like weed residue in the box.
Yeah. If you were smart about it as the drug dealer being stole from, you could start something there, but there's going to be a lot of investigation about it, and like that's going to turn up some stuff,
True. So. Hey, Eric, thank you for the $2 super chat, man. We appreciate that, brother. First super chat of the day. He said, how's it going? Glad to catch you live. I'm doing all right. How you doing, Mr. AuxxZillary Beard of Knowledge?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Doing pretty good.
Up and down.
So let's talk a little bit about you, brother. Like, how's I saw that you did your PC building stream as promised.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's
kind of hit some hurdles.
I'm mixed about the PC building streams. They're a lot of fun.
Don't tell me that, dude.
No, hang on. It's because I don't get a lot done. Is the thing.
Well, what's different from when you did it at Puget? Like, what's slowing you down at home?
I still didn't get a lot done then either.
Oh, really?
in comparison to not having the distraction of the stream, it was definitely a ball and chain. Which isn't in that context, not a bad thing. I was actually still doing pretty well. I could do almost 2 full builds a day when they at that time you were shooting for 3 or almost 3 a day. Hey, thanks for $20, Robert Settles.
Damn,
thanks,
Robert,
man. Holy cow.
Well, I got to do a little. Yeah, $20.
That's
get
rad.
One of those.
And there was also like I had a 8+ hour day to knock those out. When I'm streaming at home, I have maybe 3 hours or so from like 8 to 11, 8 to midnight or so, right in the evenings. And I could work a schedule maybe that would give me more time and whatnot to
3 PCs in a day is still a pretty good build load if you think about like all the extra stuff you're doing with the cable management and having to go back and redo things and potentially even go like do parts on the engraver, go grab stuff out of inventory constantly. I feel like 3 like would be like if you're talking about an 8-hour day with lunch, that's
ideal.
Pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, that's ideal. That's like best case scenario would be 3 a day. And like there were some orders where I did like 6 FTZ01s that were just bam, 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 bam. I could rock those out all day long.
My record
and then
is
there were days where
day.
it's like 1, 2, 0 sometimes because shit's breaking all the time. So that's in part, right? Is just the time. And this particular build was something I hadn't ever done before, and really, there's a lot of speed bumps. I've done some work off stream, sorry, but I have to.
Combat builds are hard because you have to keep taking it apart and putting it back together to like get it stuff.
Oftentimes, yeah.
Same thing happened when I put the GPU into. Remember, you offered help like if I couldn't figure out how to get the GPU into that weird case.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the FTZ01.
Yeah. So when I got the 3070, I opened it up and I was like, it's a beautiful case, but man, that mechanism that they have for getting, to make it fit all the cards in that weird orientation, it's a nightmare. You have to take out like 3 or 4 different screws to get like even at the power cables and stuff. You have to take the whole thing apart and put it back together each time you need to like maneuver and move stuff around.
Yeah, it's funny. I can do that whole thing in my head. Like it's 6 screws, 6 screws to take the GPU thing out.
Yep.
And then even then, you kind of have to like fold it over because you got power cables and stuff.
Yeah. And then there's 2 brackets in there that slide against each other that have no teeth to like line up the card.
Yep.
And if you loosen it, it'll get out of whack, and then you'll be able to stick it in the hole. But then you look at the back and nothing's lined up, and you have to take it out again because the screws are concealed. So you have to lift it out so you can get at the screws again. And I'm like, oh man, I was pulling my hair out. I did that whole thing in my bed, like laying in my bed, just wrenching on that thing. And I was like, this case is a nightmare. But it fit that 3070 like no problem. I bet you could probably get like a 3090 Ti in that damn thing.
If you took the fans out, the 2 fans on the GPU side, but man, it'd
be hot though, huh?
I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe with a Founders Edition one, just with how the blower and stuff works on the Founders Edition ones, that would probably be fine. Because then that'd probably work out okay.
Is that case still in production?
Probably.
Little pancake one.
Yeah.
I was surprised the power supply held out. It's only got, I think, a 450 watt. I want to say.
No.
Is it? It might be a 600, but I know it's not more than a 600.
Yeah, probably not.
And so I was kind of surprised that when I threw it, because I threw that 3070 in there, and I was like, oh man, am I gonna have enough power to drive this thing? But no, I did the stress testing and everything. It's absolutely stable. So
it's a 0. Sorry.
I need to plug in one of those kilowatts and see what the power draw is off the wall.
Let's see, the Silverstone FTZ Juan. Maybe not.
3070 is a thirsty card, right? I mean, that's a pretty power intensive GPU, isn't it? like 250
maybe. I would guess 250. I don't know.
Let's see here. Let's see. RTX
custom water cooled takes way longer. Yeah, so that's part of it too, right? It's like I've never done liquid cooling before. Though actually with the flexi tubing that I'm using, it's really coming together pretty easy.
220 watts. Yeah. Okay. So, and what is the CPU draw? Like what, 95 watts maybe, or something like that for the older generations?
Yeah.
I mean, the newer ones are crazy. Doesn't Intel make like a chip now that's over 200 watts or something?
Yeah.
TDP?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, dude. That is, oh my God. I remember when Intel used to throw so much shade at AMD for running hot.
Yeah, right.
And now it's like super hot.
Now I see all kinds of comments on our on the Puget articles about like, oh, it's a 12900K. Like, how hot is that getting? Blah, blah, blah. Are you guys having like thermal issues and stuff? Like, no, you just knock to a coolers all day long. It's NHU12S, I think, is the one we still use, or it might be a little different now, but.
I mean, John Bach, he was the one that showed me, in the temperature testing room where they do all the FLIR stuff.
Yeah.
Like he was showing me, just how a tiny little like laser cut baffle or just a tiny little modification of the case changes everything. Like just that little manipulation of the airflow through the case can shave an insane amount of heat off of the GPU or the CPU or the combo both. Like I love how they did the dual Xeon, my original dual Xeon box that they built for me. Oh my God.
So much. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, dude, that's
Lois Lurso. Thank you. 20 euros. That's the good stuff. Yeah.
Ooh, that converted to $21.46. So wow, the American dollar is actually worth more than a euro again. Look at that.
No.
He said Jerry talked in his Twitch stream about gun control and that there are no shootouts in gun ranges. A few years ago here in Finland, a woman shot 3 men dead in the gun range. Yeah,
wow.
But it only happened once, right? That's kind of my
Finland,
point. Like,
that's an interesting. It's weird. It's a weird spot for that to have happened too.
Yeah, Finland is. Are they an armed militia country? Like where like every that's Switzerland, right? Where like every man gets.
I feel like a lot of the northern
like or something.
Northern Europe ones, they have like good gun owners, stuff like that. Like they're armed, but like nobody really cares.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious. Did the woman get shot? Because I'd find it really weird if a lady like went into a range and shot a bunch of people where everybody had a gun and nobody shot her back. That was kind of the point I was making on my stream that might have been lost too, is like that's why people generally don't go shoot up a place like that. Is like you don't go to the place where you know you're going to get opposition. You go to the place where there's not going to be any opposition. There's a reason why schools are selected. There's a reason why theaters are selected. There's a reason why churches are predominantly selected, and it's because there's not going to be any resistance. Like at least not until you do inflict the maximum damage you can. So
let's see. A license. So a license is always needed for possession of a firearm, and all firearms are registered. In Finland, firearms may only be carried while they are being used for a specific purpose, hunting, shooting at the range, that sort of thing. When transporting a firearm to or from such activity, the firearm must be unloaded and stored in a case or pouch. The owner of a firearm is responsible for making sure that firearms and ammunition do not end up in unauthorized hands. The exact requirements regarding storage of firearms depends on their type and quantity, so on and so forth.
And the thing is, people seem to misunderstand me. They seem to think that I'm against like gun legislation, like better background checks and making sure that they don't fall into the wrong people's hands. No, I'm for all that stuff, 100%.
I still don't understand why it's not done the same way as cars. You have to have a license to show that you know what you're doing. You've gone through a gun safety course.
And it's just illegal if you don't have it.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like, people are like, "Oh, well, then criminals aren't going to follow the law." Well, yeah, and you punish people. You punish the people who don't follow the rules, and
you can't punish somebody though that's planning to die in the event.
Yeah, and
you can't punish a suicide bomber.
But regardless, I don't understand why a license. You have to prove you know what you're doing with and there'd be different levels. There's handgun license, there's long gun license, there's shotgun license or something.
Yep.
That shows you've gone through an approved safety course. You know what you're doing, and all that's jazz. You need to have insurance in case you fuck up and hurt somebody or your gun is used. Because if someone steals my car and crashes into someone, I'm probably in some part going to be liable for those damages. I could be whatever negligence on myself. Like
I've been in this situation where I got rear-ended by an uninsured motorist. They charged them $700 for no insurance, and then in court they charged them another fee for not having a driver's license. And they basically said that they couldn't afford it. And the court was like, okay, well, you need to work out a payment plan. And they're like, okay. And they left the court and they went and got in their beat ass car that they rear-ended me in and just left.
Yeah.
And drove home. Because it's like you can't force them to pay. You can fine them. You can't take their wages because they're not working right now, right? So it's like they literally can't afford it. So the problem is like, yeah, we do have to have license, we do have to have insurance, but I've been rear-ended twice now by uninsured motorists where my insurance company had to pay the full value to fix the vehicle, and my premiums went up because they hit me at fault.
This is a neat way that they've got the licensing split up. I'm just still skimming over this firearms regulation in Finland Wikipedia thing. I like how they've broken this out for licensing. It says when applying for a license to purchase a firearm, the applicant must fill in a form with information such as the type and mode of operation of firearm and the intended purpose of use. Although one can use any firearm for any legal purpose regardless of the original application, e.g. a range gun for hunting. Like you could be licensed to use it for sports and hobby and then go hunting with it. Like that's okay. According to the law, firearm must be appropriate for the stated purpose, but evaluating this is largely left to the discretion of the police. So for example, while an AR-15 is suitable for practical shooting, the police may consider one inappropriate for hunting. So, and then it lists out eight valid reasons for obtaining a firearms license. Hunting, a valid hunting permit is expected. Minimum muzzle velocity for different game, magazine capacity restrictions, etc., defined in separate legislation. Sports and hobby, type of firearm needs to be appropriate for the discipline. Proof that the hobby exists as expected for pistols and revolvers. Further requirements apply. Work. The need for a firearm must be justified. Appropriate training is expected. So, like security or police or whatever. Film and theater. So, I imagine licensing like a weapon guns, for use in a film or on theater, museum or collection. So you have a collector's license even. So person or organization, the Ministry of the Interior has approved as a weapons collector. So like that's a thing. Memento.
So it probably allows them to get more guns with less paperwork once they have that license, but it probably is more expensive and has more restrictions.
Right.
Would be my guess.
Mementos, like items of significant importance to the person or family. So this is the gun my granddaddy used in World War I.
Yeah.
Signaling, flare guns for boating, as an example. Or proxy ownership. 15 to 17-year-olds may participate in sports shooting or hunting on their own, but a licensed adult is responsible for the transportation and storage of the firearm. So the kid gets a proxy ownership license. This is my dad's hunting rifle.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm going to go out on my own to go hunting.
I actually think that would be a fair law to have. That's like if you own a weapon and you don't secure it properly and somebody steals it and goes and kills a bunch of people with it, it's like that's on you. You share partial responsibility because you really should. I 100% agree with that one. But here's the thing I want to talk about, and this is what I got really enraged. I don't know if you watched any of my stream yesterday. You probably didn't, but it was the most enraged I've ever been. I was literally like foaming at the mouth and like screaming at the camera and like telling people to go get bent and stuff. Anyways, it was pretty dark, but I did have some really good points. And the biggest point that I keep making from seeing this happen, what is this, like the 240th some odd mass shooting event we've had in the United States?
This year.
Like, wow. Okay.
It's like 220 or something like that in just this year.
How many of them were school shootings?
I don't recall.
It's got to be a fair amount, though. It's got to be at least
they classify mass shootings as I think 4 or more victims.
4 or more victims.
Yeah.
So the schools I want to focus on primarily. Like the schools are just a shooting gallery, right? It's like you're not going to have any opposition. If you go to a school, the kids are going to be frightened. They're younger than you. They're afraid of you. They're just going to sit there and just die. And that's why these psychopaths keep going to the schools. The thing is, if you just take guns away, let's just say take guns away entirely, they don't exist. We still have a severe mental health issue that we have to fix.
That's a huge thing too.
Deny that. Dude, the biggest thing that I got pushed back on my stream, and even this morning on Twitter, I'm still seeing it from tons of people, especially in other cultures like in the UK and stuff. And I understand where they're coming from because again, they're a product of their environment. Mm-hmm. They didn't grow up in the same environment we did. They didn't have the same rights that we did. They don't have more guns than humans in their country already. You know what I mean? So the thing is if you take guns away, you still have the problem where you have people that we've failed as a society that want to kill masses of other people they don't even know. They don't even have a grudge against them. Nothing. They have just murderous intent. They want to go out in a blaze of glory because they feel marginalized, bullied, or ignored or something, or they've been indoctrinated into hate or some kind of religious thing. They want to kill other people. And everybody ignores that side of it and says, oh no, if you just ban the guns, it'll fix everything. And it's like, no, I don't care if you want to do the extra gun stuff. Like, that's fine. Like, I have no problem, doing the license and getting the mental evals and doing all that. As long as there's a path for me to defend myself. You can't just take away my ability to defend myself when the police are doing a piss poor job of doing it. You can't do that. But if you take that element away, you still have kids that are like, what the fuck is poisoning these kids nowadays that wasn't 10 or 15 or 20 years ago? And I say it's social media. I think social media is but hear me out, because I've watched it. I have a kid myself, and I've watched him grow up, kind of being online with his iPad and stuff, and I heavily monitor it. And the one thing I've noticed, my kid is a lot different than other kids, because I haven't put him on social media. He's only allowed to talk to very specific friends directly. He's not allowed to be in any public forum. I don't let him read YouTube comments. I don't let him do any of that stuff. And he's a much happier person for it versus my friends' kids that I've seen that are on their phone all day on Twitter and on Facebook, and they're constantly getting bullied, and then they start bullying other people, and it just mentally deteriorates them. And I feel like parents are just letting their kids be raised by an iPad, or letting their kids be raised by my parents did the same thing. They didn't know what the internet was growing up. I was in my room on the internet all the time. They're just like, oh, he's kind of a quiet kid sitting in there. And it's like, I'm in there like doing credit card fraud and stuff. And like, I was doing all kinds of bad things, right?
Technically. So we still had some social media, because I followed a very similar path. I was online a lot, and I was not monitored very well. But I'm not out here shooting folk. I have no desire to go out there and destroy people and whatnot for it.
Were your parents involved in your life though? Like did they ask you what you were doing, or sit down and be like, hey, do you got any troubles going on in your life, or did you have good friends? Did you have good friends around that supported you? And here's what I feel like.
No, not really, but especially as a guy, like, you don't have those sorts of. That's not how your friends work. You're not sitting around talking about, oh man, this fucking sucks, and like, I feel this way, and that kind of thing. It is in part it. So I think what's
weird. That's all I do.
I think what has changed is the
and not just the communication. I'm also talking about just like the constant desensitization, or what am I trying to go? Like, you're desensitized. The act of being desensitized. I feel like the shit that we see online, because people like to do, what's the word for it, where it's like you send stuff to people that they don't know what it is until they watch it, and then they're traumatized after they watch it. Like
Rick rolls kind of a thing.
Yeah, basically Rick rolls, but like with bad stuff. Like, people used to do it on Facebook like all the time, where I'd get on there and it'd be like, watch this video, and it'd be like a car driving through a canyon. You're like, oh, this is that jump scare video, and then it shows like women and children getting shot in the head and thrown in the ditch.
I know.
And then you're like, you can't unsee it because it happens so fast, and you're like trying to reconcile it, and then you'll start breaking down and crying and be like, oh my God, what did I just see? And then you have nightmares for nights, and people are like, gotcha. I feel like that type of stuff has grown without parents understanding. Like, the parents don't understand, just like when their kids online, they just think they're like watching YouTube videos that are heavily filtered, and social media has rules and nobody would break those rules, but they don't realize their kids potentially like getting pulled into really bad groups. They could be being indoctrinated into ISIS based on like one bad experience they had being blown out of proportion. It sucks.
That's the part is there's, I feel like there's less nuance. Or there's a lot. So, you ever work in a kitchen? You ever work in a restaurant environment?
I haven't actually.
Okay. Or any sort of like high pressure team environment. I suppose.
Hell yeah.
I imagine.
Definitely hell yes.
So you ever get on a team? You ever get in a team where there's the one guy who's just like disgruntled? Yes. Guy, he's like, oh man, this fucking sucks. Manager's a fucking prick. And every one of them. And it's usually is one person. But what happens is there'll be a couple other people on the team who go, yeah, man, you know what? Randy's right. Right. Fucking boss is a fucking prick. He is. Yeah, man, it is unfair. Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Randy's right. Yeah, right. And it spreads like a cancer through the whole team until eventually the team falls apart. One person will leave or get fired, and then, oh man, they should have never fired Randy. He was just talking about the truth, man. Yeah, fuck that guy. Right. And then the whole team falls apart. Yep. And what otherwise would have been a good, well working machine. Everybody's got complaints about their work sometimes. Like, man, that guy's kind of rude today or whatever. but it
you're talking about
spreads and
the
it becomes
truly
a thing.
disgruntled guy. Like he's never happy. He's always
and he's
mad,
always complaining. There's always
yeah.
something wrong. Everybody's against him.
And
blah,
it just
blah, blah.
drags down the whole team because he's so persistent and consistent in those actions that everybody else basically just gravitates into it. Like,
and there's no voice of reason.
Totally.
Or nobody will stand up to Randy and say, "Hey, man, like this was just one time. Like this is a great gig we got here." Like, and I feel like those sorts of mentalities find places to fester.
Yeah.
There's groups of these Randys. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on any Randy in particular, but yeah. But like, and it festers and it foments and then like these incel groups and stuff, right? Like it's all a bunch of these kinds of those sorts of mentalities getting together and they're all hyping each other up like, yeah, man, women suck. Yeah, oh man. Well, that one time you got rejected at the bar, that's every woman's a piece of shit because of that. Rah, 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 rah. And they hype each other up and they fucking bum. You know what? I'm sick of just here complaining about it. I'm gonna do something about it. Yeah, get him, Kyle. Yeah, you stand up. I'm right behind you.
And even if they don't really mean it, they'll actually unknowingly talk each other into it.
That's it. That's right.
It's just like January 6th. I'm sure everybody was like, yeah, let's go. We should go in there and storm it. And then another guy's like, that's a good idea. And everybody's joking. But then once everybody responds to it, then you're like,
the guy pulls up with the bus and they're like, oh shit,
let's go.
Oh yeah, okay, let's go. It's just like the team where Randy's complaining and bitching and then he gets fired or leaves or whatever. And then everybody else is like, yeah, you know what? He found a better place to be. I'm out of here too. I got caught up in it myself in one time when I really shouldn't have. And
we all have, man.
And it's the thing.
We all have.
I feel like there are more of those sorts of places where it just reinforces the pain, the slight, right? I got rejected or somebody did something that I didn't like, and so it's the other side of the coin to my perception of social media being a good thing because people are able to find places to share their weird thing, right?
No doubt.
You're into crocheting penguins, man, there's a group for you for that. But the other side of that coin is, man, are you into hating on someone on these sorts of people, or do you feel slighted or anti whatever? There's a group for you for that. And for all of the positivity that can come with finding groups of people that agree with you, whatever it is your thing that it is you're trying to find a group for, there's good and bad to that.
I think it's kind of like any technology, though, especially like nuclear, right? It's like, look at nuclear. How did we get nuclear power, right?
Right.
It's like you basically have the defense, the United States defense is like, oh, let's split an atom and blow shit up. And then they're like, oh, to make the fuel to blow the shit up, we actually can enrich this material. We can also use to boil water and make electricity. And so you end up having a weapon of mass destruction, and the exact same technology just slightly reconfigured and put in a kettle of water ends up being like limitless, clean energy. And it's the same thing with the internet. I think it's literally the single most important invention of mankind, because before the internet, we had no way to instantaneously transfer knowledge at the scale. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you are. Like, it's irrelevant. Geography is completely irrelevant now. You can trade information in real time, share screens, share pictures, share videos with another individual on the other side of the planet in near real time.
Yeah.
And before, it's like, to get knowledge, you had to go to the library. You had to go to the Rolodex, find the book, pull the book, go to the table of contents, find the thing, go to the page, and then read through that information, and then, put sticky notes in it and back reference and go back and forth. And it's like, you can absorb the same amount of data in a day that would take you 6 months in a library if you had access to that data, because it was so delayed and aged, right? You had to wait for the books to be published, wait for the library to buy the books. With the internet, it's like, if somebody figures out how to do cold fusion tomorrow, there's a paper on it, and the next day there's a patent, and the next day it's like everybody has the general gist of how it works. They might not have the technology to do it themselves in their garage yet, but they understand how the process works, and they can start thinking and building on top of that theory without even doing it. Then you have computer simulations and stuff where you have all the computers working together at the same time. So everybody effectively has access to a supercomputer network. to run simulations, like whether you do folding at home or SETI. You can do these huge projects now by combining not just the mental power of everybody like you would for trading information, but you're taking everybody's computers now and putting them together. So humanity is like evolving technically at a way faster rate than before the internet. Like the internet opened up this whole new avenue of, it no longer takes 50 years to figure out how to get to the moon.
Right.
It's like now it takes, years. Pretty soon it'll be months.
Yeah.
You have this iterative process that keeps getting faster and faster. Oh, you have a mistake? Okay, there's a guy in Belgium, a Belgian dude and a German guy and a French dude all get together and fire up their little Large Hadron Collider and like figure out some particle science, send that information over to you. You alter your heat shield so that it's got like some new composition or whatever to withstand that new type of radiation you encountered. It's like 3 months later, you're testing something that would have taken 50 years to try to figure out through trial and error.
I feel like this connection, this, ubiquitous global connection is evolving our, I don't think society is quite the right word, but it is evolving. It's forcing a faster evolution of our like 100%. Social construct.
Yep.
And with that comes the pain and mistakes and mutations and aberrations that come along with any sort of evolution,
Yeah.
I'm still a firm believer that this is the greatest time ever to be alive as a human being. There is less violence in the world than there ever has been, despite
it's more
what
like
we
different
see.
violence. It's a new type of violence that we're seeing. It's not the volume.
Yeah, I know that the United States and the violence and craziness that happens here is not the norm in the world. Which I feel this is a purely like gut check sort of thing. I'm pretty sure that is a fact. That like America, the United States of America is an outlier. Like people often bring up, oh, well, there's 370 million people in the United States. You can't compare us to Japan when it comes to whatever problem the United States ends up having. And they're like, oh, well, of course we're going to have more gun violence because there's more people here. Well, the thing is, it's not like the ratios don't support that, right? Okay, yeah, we have 5 times the population of X other country, but that we have hella more than 5 times the rate of the violence, right? It's that like those don't correlate. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I noticed that and unfortunately this is a very Dunning-Kruger thing that we do, and the internet really enables this, is this kind of falls into oversimplification. We don't have enough time to process the vast amount of data that's thrown at us or presented that we can find, that we have to make really quick calls, because the longer we take to form an opinion, the more everybody else is going to form an opinion before you, and you're going to be overwhelmed. And then if you figure out the truth, you're so far off from the group that you're an outcast.
Yeah.
So
that's a piece of it.
Yeah. So what is the saying? It's like what is it, like causality doesn't mean, or
correlation is not causality. Yeah.
Correlation is not causality. And I see this one run rampant every time we have a mass shooting event, because here's what happens: is people go, oh my God, these mass shooting events happen in states that have more relaxed gun laws. Like that's why they happen there. And if you look, it's like Washington State, where I live, it's actually incredibly easy to get guns here. Yeah. I mean, we still have a background check and everything, but it's incredibly easy to get guns. But we have an incredibly low murder rate, like one of the lowest in the country. But then you go down and it's like you got, places like, let's see here, Oklahoma is pretty high. Let's see, which one is this one right here? Come on. Louisiana, Nevada, super high death rate. And the thing that you'll notice when you start to look through here is there's other factors that people ignore. And that is, a lot of these states have really bad education numbers. A lot of these states are very religious, like very Abrahamic religious. A lot of these states are where, the Confederacy was formed, and where racism still runs, whether it be predominantly presented or subconsciously. And a lot of the population is passed on as a part of their religious beliefs and so forth. So when you start factoring in all these other things, it's like, yeah, it's convenient to say, that, oh, because there's the guns are there, that's why more murders are happening. But it's like, it's not the object, it's the person. Now, just so we're clear here, guns do make killing a hell of a lot more efficient. More people do die. If you have a gun, you're going to kill more people than you are with a machete. Just like if you have a bomb, you're going to kill more people than you will with a gun. The object does change how many people you can kill, but it doesn't change why you're killing or why you're doing it in the first place.
Sure.
And so what you start to notice when you look at that, when you take the object away and you're like, listen, I'm not fat because of the spoon. I'm fat because I have a mental issue that makes me have a compulsion to eat. Taking away McDonald's or taking away the spoon doesn't stop me from eating. Yeah, it might change how I eat, but it's not going to change the compulsion to eat.
Right.
You have to fix the compulsion, and people ignore that because it's really hard to fix mental health, because mental health is a huge diverse problem that is a massive spectrum that requires a hell of a lot of resources and time and things that legislators just aren't interested in because it's not going to happen within their term, right? It doesn't benefit them in the short term. Banning guns, that's something that's tangible, really, easy from their standpoint to at least look like they're trying to do. And people get that false sense of security like the TSA gives you, even though, you walk through with your knife and get on the airplane half the time. TSA, you're like, oh, a bomb will never show up on this plane because of TSA, right? But it's like it's security theater. It's there to make you nervous or make you feel safer because you're like, well, everybody had to go through the same check I did, which isn't true. When they're busy, they'll just ferry people through. I've gone through TSA before where they don't even tell me to take off my belt or anything. I just walk right through and they're just like, oh, go. We're the flight's about to leave. Go. So it's just security theater. But whenever I see these events where it's like, the internet will start trending and be like, another mass shooting happened, emphasis on shooting, right? Even though there's other mechanisms, like in the States where the shootings aren't as prevalent, like in Washington, we just had a dude like run over a bunch of people with a car in Seattle at Pike's Place Market the other day. It's like you still have people that are killing each other with other means. It's like, why are they killing each other? We have to address that. And the reason that these states that you're looking at, because some of these states where the murder rate's high actually do have pretty strict gun laws. And so when you look at these states, you're like, why are people killing each other? Like, why is this happening? The other factors that start to crop up are religious beliefs. That's a big one because that creates cultural divide, right? If you're super hardcore, I'm talking like evangelical hardcore going to the church, you are going to look down on people that don't agree with that, right? You are fully in ride or die, right? You have these states where it's like, pro-choice or pro-life, where it's like you got the pro-life people going like firebombing and trying to kill people in the name of stopping early term abortion. It's like, it's kind of this, but in their head, they believe that what they're doing is the right thing. They're not saying, oh, we're killing the infidels. We're doing what Jesus wants us to. Right. So when you start looking at these other states where these murder rates are really high, you start to understand, wait a second, there's low education, lots of indoctrination, lots of racism, lots of sexism, lots of all these other things. And you start adding up and you're like, listen, the gun may be the mechanism that's allowing him to kill more people faster, but it's definitely not the mechanism that's making them want to kill. You have to think about that. And it's like, when I think about this kid that just at 18, we got the new evidence, right? He literally with purpose was bragging about it to a girl on his phone, shoots his grandma in the head, says he does it as he's going there. 15 minutes later, he's like, I'm going to go into an elementary school and shoot it up. So it's not like he just crashed his car and by chance went into there. School resource, perfect storm. School resource officer, not there. If he was there, he could have confronted him and shot him. Back door was propped open when it was supposed to be locked because they already did drills for this because another shooting just happened not too long ago in the same place. And so you have all these things. It's just a catastrophic failure across the board. But but the thing that people seem to ignore because they can't control, because he's dead, right? The shooter's dead. Most of these cases, the shooter's dead or he's in jail and he's not talking, right? Mm-hmm. And so people are like, oh man, if he just didn't have a gun, he wouldn't have killed anybody. It's like, no, if he was to the point where he was willing to take innocent children's lives of people he didn't even know, he didn't have a grudge against these kids. These kids didn't do nothing to him. He just wanted to kill people because something that happened to him online, whether it be rejection or constant bullying, it's going to come out at some point. It always does. Something that happened to this kid made him get to the point where he felt like the only way that he would be recognized and the only way people would be forced to take him seriously is if he murdered a bunch of people and then went out and died in a blaze of glory. And when you start thinking about that, you're like, we're putting too much time and effort over on the one thing without putting enough on the other thing. And I honestly believe that because I'm a victim of it myself online, like I'm in therapy, like I pay I'm lucky enough to be able to pay a therapist that I can talk to because I get completely overwhelmed when I turn on the internet and I go to social media and somebody disagrees with me. And then all of a sudden new accounts start popping up and emailing me saying they're going to rape my wife and kill me and kill my son in front of me. And like, so it gets on my nerves after a while. Right. I've had to involve the police multiple times. I even talked to my police about a protocol that if somebody enters my house, I have the right to shoot them. I confirmed it. I made sure that I was within the legality. I've practiced so for safety so that I shoot on a downward trajectory. It sucks that I have to practice these things, but it's like, it's because there are psycho people out there, because the internet will get people to their breaking point. Hell, look at Boogie 2988 when Frank Hassel went to his house and was trying to kick in his door saying he was going to come in and rape him while he was like recording on his GoPro for a YouTube video. Like the dude literally went over there to make a viral video of him attacking another YouTuber, like physically in real life.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of psycho people out there. And it's like, how did he get to that point? Well, with Frank Hassel, for instance, it's because he visualized Boogie as his like enemy. He was his nemesis, right? It was like that movie Unbreakable or whatever, right? You have to have a villain. And so Frank turned Boogie into that because Boogie was famous and Frank wasn't, and Frank wanted to be famous. So he tried to make himself Boogie's nemesis, but then he started taking it seriously because people pushed him. People were constantly like, oh, you should go over and kick his ass. Come on, do it, man. You get a viral video and everything. And you start feeling like, oh, these people will be so happy if I just do this. And you're like, why am I doing this for a bunch of strange people on the internet? But what you don't realize is those people, they're so socially awkward and disconnected, especially during times of COVID. You're going to see everything go up through times of COVID, because when people are not interacting and people aren't like physically getting their stress out by being in proximity of each other and talking, no matter how much you talk over the internet, stress is going to increase across the board. When job rates go down, part availability, inflation goes up, all those things are going to affect crime because people are going to get stressed, and stress begets mental illness. Yeah. So, but we always ignore that whenever this happens, and that's where I get pissed. And then the funny thing is, if you talk about it, people get mad. Like, how dare you not say gun control? And I'm like, I am saying gun control. I'm just saying that's not the key issue. Taking the spoon away does not make me stop being fat. I'm not going to go, oh shit, the whole reason I was eating that stew is because I had that spoon. Oh my God, I'm glad they took it away.
Making it harder to get the spoon, making it more, putting like,
you really think I wouldn't go whittle my own spoon if I wanted to eat and had a mental compulsion to eat?
And doing so would make it more difficult for it, right? And therefore would slow enough people down that it would make a significant impact. Like it needs to be both. It needs to be both. It needs to be both. Right?
It needs to be both. That's all I want to hear. Nobody will concede that.
Too easy. It is way too easy to get a gun, like for whatever. Yeah. And part of the reason it is super easy to get a gun is because nobody looks at, well, like, why are you trying to buy a gun? Why are you trying to buy 2,000 rounds? Why, like, what are you? Nobody asks. Right. It's just, oh, you're 18. You want a fucking rifle? Here you go. I go down to Walmart and buy a shotgun and come home right now.
Yeah, and again, nobody's arguing that guns don't make you able to kill more people, but it does not fix the compulsion to kill.
Okay, yes, I guess, but like, it's
like, let me give you a counter argument. Just tell me how far off base I am. So if I can't kill people with a gun, right? Like if I don't, let's say I don't have access to a gun, even though I know I could just steal one, I could go to my neighbor's house when they're not home and grab theirs. I can go and buy one off the street, right?
It makes it more difficult, right?
I don't think it does. I actually think it makes it easy. It makes it easier, at least here in Washington. Because if I have to go and fill out a background check and wait 7 days to get my rifle,
that's the big one, right?
When I can just
the waiting period could help so much. Oh, totally. Like the
100% agree with that.
I'm so riled up and angry, and I'm gonna go out there and blah blah blah. It's I don't know.
Here's the thing though, is like people are like, oh, but every one of these shootings uses a gun. Yeah, because the gun is sensationalized. Why is it always an AR-15? The AR-15 isn't an optimal weapon for killing a bunch of people in close quarters. That's suboptimal. That's a very low caliber, designed for armor penetration when there's no armor on your targets, designed for accuracy to distance, not close up maximum damage. It's like, why aren't these people going in there with like freaking shotguns with drum magazines? And they're not doing it because it's not that's the sensationalized gun is the M16 looking weapon. That is the classified as the assault rifle. So when people want to go out in a blaze of glory, which is what's happening, the rage that people are getting to, they're trying to pick whatever mechanism gives them the most impact and makes them the most famous. So
check it out.
Take the guns away, you're going to see bombings go up. People are going to go, you kind of black powder and compress your chest with like 10 pounds of BBs and just kill 100 people in a room.
Used to be super easy to get an ammonium nitrate fertilizer. Look, Oklahoma City bomb, right? 100%. That was diesel and fertilizer in a U-Haul truck, took down a massive building. Used to be real easy to get ammonium nitrate fertilizers. It's real fucking hard to find ammonium nitrate fertilizers. And when you do, you got to fill out. Look, I'm on a record for buying Sudafed. I buy one box of fucking Sudafed from CVS. I'm on a federal registry. Like, I know this. This is a fact. They report that purchase to the feds so that they don't think that I'm making meth in my apartment.
Or you can buy the meth with crypto and just have it delivered right to your house by UPS.
Either way.
So, but that's the point. If you're not going to follow the law,
you blow up a federal building with fertilizer and diesel, and they put a fat restriction on fertilizer with ammonium nitrate in it. You still get it, but they make you fill out some forms and they ask a hell of a lot of questions about it, and you are being watched for doing so.
That's the thing, the watching. That's what I want to see happen.
Why isn't it like a car or buying fertilizer or buying Sudafed? Like it's I don't know, man. It just the whole thing. When I sell my car, okay, like, oh well, people we'll just go to gun shows and buy them without the paperwork. When I buy a car,
that's horseshit, by the way. They need to stop that. That needs to go away.
When I sell my car to my neighbor, there's a bunch of paperwork that we both got to fill out. One of us has got to go down to the fucking DMV and I submit a paper. So when I sell my gun to my neighbor, I fill out a paper that says, "Hey, bud, hey, government regulators, I've sold this gun. Turn in my paperwork." If he doesn't register that gun within a certain amount of time, he's going to come. Somebody's going to come asking questions about it, just like with the car. It's the same kind of thing.
In Washington, you have to do a transfer through an FFL holder. Like, so you can't even just sell a gun to somebody, even with a concealed carry. You have to go to a gun shop, and they have to, and they're required by law to broker and do the background checks and do the transfer and make sure it's in the
and so again, it's like, yes, it's not going to stop at all. That's not, nobody's trying to, it's impossible.
There's a lot of people that think it will,
well, and then people will point to Chicago, right? Like, oh, there's such gun violence in Chicago. A lot of those guns are coming from states that are easier to get guns in, and then they come into the state, right? So like, I mean, you can't buy guns legally from a dealer without papers. There is, right? But there's also a bunch of evidence that shows that those gun dealers don't file the paperwork properly, don't wait the appropriate amount of time to hand the gun over. The feds aren't doing a great job of approving those permits and things like that. Like, where do you stop though? I won't go into details, but anyone can make napalm right now from what's in their house. Yeah, diesel and styrofoam, done. Like, come on.
There's actually like 20 different ways to do it. You can do it cornstarch. You can
that's. I mean, I can make black powder right now, and with a bunch of kitchen supplies, sugar and salt and other stuff that's just in my kitchen right now. I can make a bomb.
Well, play devil's advocate to me though. If I am mentally ill enough that my goal is to want to kill people, do you really think not having access to one of the millions of ways to do it is going to stop me from trying to do it when my goal is to get that infamy and I'm so mentally harmed?
That's nothing stops people from breaking them except the consequences of breaking those laws. You don't stop at a stoplight. When literally, I guarantee 95% of the people in the chat right now will stop at a red light or a stop sign at a four-way, even when nobody's there.
Yeah.
Part of it's habit. You're not really consciously thinking about what you're doing. And you're just going to stop because it's red, because
that's also, you don't want to ticket, right?
But yeah, the consequence, we can do this all night. That's true. Yeah. This is going round and round and round.
No, actually, I don't think it's going around and round. I think we're actually getting some good traction out of this.
Owning a gun is a right. Owning a car is not. How is that any different? Your mode of, I have a right to freely travel around as much as I like. A car enables me to do that. The car is also an incredibly dangerous fucking thing.
Massively.
That it helps your right to defend yourself does not necessarily come with a firearm. You know, it says like,
I mean, I can arguably, if you want to get down to brass tacks, I can kill a lot more people in a populated area with a 4,000-pound vehicle going 60 miles an hour than I can with a single gun.
Why does everybody skip over the well-regulated militia part of the Second Amendment? Are you a part of a militia? Are you a part of some group of people who, that are well-regulated? Why does everybody seems to skip over that part? Well-regulated. As it stands, this is not very well regulated.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, we wouldn't be able to go up against our own government anyways.
It's not about that's
people think an AR-15 is a military weapon. It's not.
So outrageous. Okay, stockpile 10,000 rounds. I don't give a fuck. What are you going to do against a Black Hawk helicopter?
You're not
or a bunker buster bomb that comes from 10,000 feet up in the air. 100%. You are not fighting against the government. You know why I own a gun? It's not about the government. It's about the guy next door.
That's it. Bingo. Nailed it. Not Chris. If you're watching, I'm sorry. No,
no. I mean, it's not literally your neighbor,
but that's why. It's because the police cannot respond in time to protect me, and I'm a public figure that gets death threats constantly. And I've had people come onto my property before with malice.
Yeah. And
so I have to be able to defend myself, because if I can't guarantee that they're not armed, I can't risk not being armed myself. It's mutually assured destruction. It's like we can't just give up nukes, because then Russia would just steamroll us.
Yeah.
They can't give up their nukes because we'd steamroll them, and don't think we wouldn't. We absolutely would. So it's
would health and safety let cars be invented as a new thing today, considering how fatal they can harm people? Yeah, 100%. Would health and safety let cars be invented as a new thing today, considering how fatal they can harm people? Absolutely. 100%. Of course. Yes, that's there's actual historical precedents of the government taking you and your gun and doing with it as they want, because that's what the Second Amendment is actually about. Yeah, that was 250 years ago.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit.
The government's not coming for your guns. And even if they wanted to, you could not stop them. Like that's the whole point. Like if the federal government decided one day,
but you're not going to win. You will not win.
I mean, it would devolve to a civil war.
It would.
The United States military would stomp any sort of civil war that would try and rise up right now. There's no possibility of civil war in this country without the military flipping.
Yeah, and whichever side the military is on is going to win. Like there's no way for civilians to go up against something like that.
223
so it's not to defend yourself from a tyrannical government anymore. So I 100% agree on all those points. I'm just trying to say that the reason that I own a gun is very, very simple. It's for two things: shooting at the range and self-defense. But self-defense is the primary one.
Look, when things were going crazy during the summer a couple years back, I was borrowed a gun as a just in case. Not that I had any serious concern that the people were going to start rioting up here or anything. I'm out in the suburbs and stuff.
Seattle got pretty bad. Graham got hit by a 40 mic or whatever. So
I believe it, but so it wasn't so much really that I thought the crazy crowds were going to come up here and start breaking in. But it was more opportunists. People seeing some crazy shit going 100%. On. Maybe it's worth knocking some windows out to steal some shit anywhere, especially in a fairly affluent neighborhood like I live in.
And it was happening in Seattle. Like lots of houses were just getting looted during protests because people just blend in, right? Target of opportunity.
Yeah. And so and I'm feeling that way more and more. Like I want a shotgun. I want some small caliber, pew pew, as just in case, man. It's getting weird, So I don't know. It's just it does need to be both. It needs to be an overhaul of how we acquire these weapons. The process by which you become an owner, and also
I actually agree. I do agree on
the mental health part of it, because
that's the part that gets ignored. That's why I like this list of reasons why you're getting a license for this gun. Do you want this gun for hunting? Okay, then that's cool, and that's what you need to use it for. You're sports and hobby. You just plinking. You just want to take it to the gun range. There's a license for that. And there's some wiggle room. There's even wiggle room. Like it says here, you fill in for what you want, but you can totally use your gun. Like, okay, yeah, you filled out the application for sports and hobby, but you can totally use the appropriate weapon for hunting too. Yeah.
Like that's okay. You're not going to get in trouble for that. Totally fine. You want to hunt deer with your 30-06 and you want to hunt people well, yeah, that's not right. But but it's like, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't understand why not to have, because the idea that, oh, I don't want the federal government knowing that I got a gun. Why? They're not gonna come for it. They're not. Every time that comes up, like, it's outrageous.
And if you don't want them to know about it, you can just make your own. Making guns is a very simple thing.
There's that too, but it's just weird. It's just weird.
A lot of people are like, "Oh man, a gun's too complicated to make." It's like, dude, go look up what is it? A plumbing pipe shotgun.
Oh man,
on YouTube, it's like $11 in parts in Home Depot, and you've basically got a shotgun that can shoot 3 lead slugs at a time.
Why not air rifles and stuff? Or
air rifles are super powerful now.
Like
you can take down an elk with an air rifle now.
There's and again, it's not about stopping it completely. Like, oh, criminals don't follow the law. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
but it's to make it more difficult.
Here's the thing, though: if we focused more on just paying attention to what's going on around us. Every single one of these mass shootings happen from a kid who was showing lots of red flags for a long time before it happened.
I was just skimming over this article about, like, it says the police are now telling a very different story about what happened in Uvalde, and like just skimming through this. Yeah, man, this could all
be stopped before it ever started if people just paid attention and gave a shit, and we weren't so desensitized to the internet that when somebody goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go shoot up a school," oh, that guy, nice troll, ban. It's like, no, call the cops.
Yeah,
report it. Take shit seriously. Like, it's better to be wrong and then have them just go imprison that person for fake, for making false out, like,
the stuff,
false flags or whatever.
There was like talking about it was in some group chats or whatever on the internet, and when it was reported that he was talking about this stuff, they were like, "Oh, that's just how it is online." And like that needs to be changed. The attitude needs to be changed.
So earlier when I said social media in general is one of the most dangerous things ever, that's what I'm talking about.
It's the tool, right? It's the tool. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil.
For good or used for bad.
But it does need to be, and it does need to be a better conversation about when these sorts of things come up.
Yeah.
Like,
think about how twisted it is about the guy that committed suicide on Twitch or whatever. Did you see that? That's
actually happened quite a few times. Heard something about that.
Not the guy that went in and shot up the store. He did that Twitch broadcast too. But no, there was a stream. I think this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago, where a guy literally started up his camera, started getting people in chat, and people were tipping him because he's like, "I think I'm going to kill myself." And they were tipping him like $200. Kill yourself. Do it right now, pussy. Do it. And he actually did. He swallowed a bunch of pills. Like, nobody called the cops and just let him drift off and die right on camera live. And then they banned the stream. And it's like, nobody that tipped $200 saying kill yourself ever got prosecuted. They're like, we didn't think he'd do it. We thought he was faking.
Yeah.
Like, but it was obviously a cry for help.
Every single one of those messages should be getting
100%. Those people should be
involuntary manslaughter. So that one girl,
100%.
That one girl who encouraged her boyfriend to
kill himself.
She got something like that, like some sort of manslaughter. Now. It was a manslaughter charge, as I recall. I can't remember exactly. I think there was some nuance to it, but it was. Yeah.
So TLDR of this situation, just for those who just joined us, I am 100% for more gun control. I'm okay with that. Like, as long as you don't take away the ability for good law-abiding citizens to protect themselves, because you can't guarantee their safety. As long as that's all I care about. Like, everything else, you can change anything. Like, I don't care if it takes me 7 days to get my gun. I don't care if I have to do a background check. I don't care if they have to go back through my social media logs and make sure I'm not threatening people's lives and stuff like that. And like, I prefer that. Like, do that.
I like part of the Japanese thing too is a mental health assessment. They have you sit down because, like, it's a weird, like, I suppose from their angle, it's a weird thing to want to own a gun. So they ask a lot of questions about that. And it's super strict. They have the cops come in and make sure that you have like a gun safe and like that you're going to keep the gun and ammo separate, and they do regular checkups and things like that. I don't think we need to go that far. Maybe
it's probably a little bit too far, because
I feel like that's a lot of,
you're not stopping anything.
It'd be a lot of bureaucracy for the United States. It's like, that's when the population thing comes into play. Like, holy fuck, you're going to have the cops come and knocking on every single door to make sure, like, that's outrageous.
All I'm saying is, let me ask you this, like, serious question, and you can give me a serious answer.
Insurance,
if we don't disagree.
License, training, insurance.
Which do you think would be more likely to stop another mass shooting event? Like, and you can answer just completely honestly. which would be more likely to stop? Like if you had the choice to ban guns, like, and I'm not even telling just regular, just ban them. Like, so no legal law-abiding citizen can acquire a gun, like a period. They have to relinquish everything, unarmed public. Only criminals have guns because we've already established, or bomb or poison or driving their car. If they want to kill you, they're going to find a way to kill you, right? And you can't defend yourself. So which do you think is more likely to stop another school shooting in those situations? Taking away the guns, like I just said, or actually having law enforcement work closely with social media outlets, doesn't matter if it's 4chan, Reddit, pass legislation that says that they have to have filters and watches. And if they see these types of conversations going on where people are making threats against the public and stuff, they can actually closely watch that, find the person and interject before it happens, like they did with those 2 kids. I think that was in Texas too, wasn't it? In 2018, where they stopped the 2 kids that were going to shoot up the school because the FBI was watching them because of their online activities. And then they were moving up their schedule to go shoot up the school earlier because they wanted to do it before school broke for the spring break or whatever. And then the police went and arrested them both and found guns, ammo, magazines. Like they planned this whole mass murder thing. They stopped it. They stopped the whole shooting. If we had a division that was actually paying attention to social media and monitoring the communication, it doesn't have to be like fully, I'm not talking like wiretap, like violate. I'm saying if you trigger certain mechanisms by saying like, I'm going to kill them, because we already have that for the president. Like if anybody threatens the president's life, you get visited by, 2 guys in black suits that'll haul you off. Like that's a felony. And they do listen for that. If they hear that phrasing on a phone call, they'll wiretap your ass. They'll pull the phone logs for your text messages and everything. They can do that. But do you think it would be better to monitor these people and be able to interject before they can commit the crime, or just trust that they're going to be so lazy that if they can't get a gun, they won't accept any other way of killing, and they'll just continue on not harming others?
I mean, if of those two, the interjection I think is better, but with some changes to it.
And not that it would save every life. I'm just saying it would save more lives.
I don't think it's appropriate for the government to monitor all of that. I think that when concerns are raised, it needs to be taken more seriously.
Oh no, be clear, I'm not saying that they should wiretap you and listen to everything you're saying. I'm just saying if you say certain things, it triggers a mechanism so that they just see that one thing in the context of that thing, and then they can just discount it and be maybe, like, yeah, I mean, anonymous. Maybe like don't even let the person's information be published until it is confirmed that it meets a certain standard of credible threat. We already do it for like terrorists and stuff, like text messages. Like if terrorists start text messaging each other back and forth and it triggers anything in the system will pull it up, show them the text message, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we probably should look a little closer at this guy who's like talking about crashing airplanes into buildings after 9/11. So we already have those mechanisms in place, love them or hate them, right? Yeah. So and they've already used them for this specific situation before. They just didn't use it this time. I'm just saying that if you're, and the other thing is the argument is, oh, well, let's take people's guns away. Well, you're taking their right away. It's a constitutional right, whether you like it or not. It is a constitutional right for you to have guns. And no matter what legislation you pass, the people that have guns right now can keep those guns illegally, legal, or whatever. They're not going to follow. Right. They're going to think that you taking that away from them, a founding right, they're not going to find that acceptable, no matter how much amendments make sense. Right. Right. So, so you're either taking away their right, or you're monitoring the conversations so that they can have the right, but if they cross that line, you can stop them before they kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, like, and then the idea of making
you're giving up a right either way. It's just I'd rather use the one that's most effective.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of comes around back to the like just taking the concerns more seriously. Right. Like
that's it. Yeah, stop being. You see something, say something.
Yeah, it just and to take it more serious. Like it's like. Look, 100%. if little Jeremy in the back of the class is texting his friends about, man, fuck this Mr. Jenkins in math class, I'm gonna fuck him up. It
just happened with that last. It needs to have this one.
Yeah, there needs to be a better conversation around that, because like sometimes, look, my buddies and I had discussions about like, could we take over the school? How many kids do you think it would take? There's more of us than them. How many kids do you think it would take to, and how long do you think we could hold the school? Where would we hold up and stuff?
Everybody has morbid conversations.
It was never a serious, like we weren't ever going to really do it, but we put a lot of time and effort and thought into it. Like, why not? Because it was a fun game theory, mental exercise. But had someone heard us and had they approached us and said, hey, this is some fucking weird talk you guys are having, like, explain this. we would have explained, and we could have easily have put that down. Like they would have agreed us. Homeschooling I feel like that would make it worse.
I love it when people are like, just don't live in America. Yeah, that's not an option for the poor, unfortunately.
Oh, so you agree that people should leave the country that has terrible conditions for a better place? Let's move that on into immigration talk now, huh? Okay. No, I'm sorry. That's
no. There's a reason why everybody wants
parents
to come
are to blame,
like,
not watching for their kids. In part, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
If my son grows up and becomes a mass murderer, I'm going to take responsibility for that. Absolutely.
No, I know. I was too, Jack. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap this up, and we can move on. We can. Oh, by the way, I wanted to thank I Am Me. I don't know if he thanked. He have a $50. Did you see that $50?
No.
Tip?
What?
I Am Me.
Man. Thank you so much.
$50 super chat. Biggest super chat day. Said, I hope you two are doing great. And as always, because I can.
Oh,
I Am Me. Thank you so much for that, man. Again, Louis Russo. Thank you for Lurso. Sorry, Lois Lurso. Thank you for the 2146. Really appreciate that.
Those euros.
And Crypto Gimp gave us a $10 super chat. He said, "Wish I had your BTC address so I could pay you in crypto, cutting YouTube out." I will start looking for some other avenues. I just need to find avenues that are easy for me to bookkeep because we split everything.
Yeah,
me and Aux split everything. So if there's another avenue, like I don't want anybody like directly tipping me or anything like that. I want it to go to the show or into an account that I can easily just 50-50 at the end of the month and give him half.
We could just spin up a Tech Talk PayPal,
just a wallet, right? Or
a Tech Talk wallet or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. The PayPal's a tricky one because one of the taxes has to be associated with me or you. Like there's no way to just create one that's like neutral. Crypto though, I think no, he's still gonna pay taxes, but at least we'd be paying taxes on the money that goes into both of our accounts.
Yeah.
So whatever went into my account, whatever went into your account, you'd just be paying the income tax on that. Yeah. So that would work. Thank you for that support though. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.
But the one thing I do want to clarify from my stream yesterday, though, is a lot of people think that I'm like super because it's binary. Everything's binary now. This is part of the
that's a part of it too, right?
America, is that you're a gun loving, gun toting America? No, I own an AR-15. I haven't fired it in 2.5 years. Not even at the range.
You should probably look into that. At least clean it.
No. It's actually have a safe that's heated and has a humidity. That thing sucks all the humidity out of there. So I can store stuff in there for 100 years. So it's not hermetically sealed, but pretty close. And so I have people like, oh my God, you're just another gun loving American. No. Hold on here. I would gladly give up my gun. 100%. Like I even though I enjoy shooting it at the range, I'd gladly give up my gun if you could guarantee my safety. But you can't guarantee my safety. Until you can, I'm not going to give it up. As long as a criminal has access to it, I am not going to deny myself a level playing field.
Yeah,
there's no way. And so that's the difference is I'm not a gun. I can take it or leave it. The reason I need it is because I actually have had credible threats and I have had my life personally saved by a firearm before. So I have a unique perspective on it. That being said, I am for background checks. I am for increased legislation to make it harder to get a gun, at least that there's more time involved to investigate and deeper looking into you. And I think that your social media interactions should be a part of your public social media interactions should be a part of that analysis. Like if you're posting every day that you're going to go murder people and you're getting banned off of platforms and you're banned off half the platforms for threatening people's lives, that should probably affect your ability to get a firearm, regardless of your age. So I'm all for all of that legislation. But the thing that pisses me off and the thing that I've been fighting for is take the guns out of the equation for a second. Stop focusing on the spoon and start focusing on the mental compulsion to eat. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop focusing on the gun. Start focusing on why are we creating murderers? We didn't create a bunch of school killers 20 years ago, and they even had more access to guns than they do today, and they had more access to cheaper ammo than they did today. What has changed? And the major thing that has changed from my research personally is social media is starting at a younger and younger age. And it's so much more prolific. Like when MySpace started, the only people on MySpace were people that knew how to use a computer. Then Facebook got easier. Then you got Twitter and you got apps on a cell phone, so it's even easier. So now it's gotten to the point where this latest generation where you see these kids that are killing between like 14 and like 20, that's the window of opportunity where they had social media their entire lives, where it was a huge, very diverse group of people from like every culture, people that hated, people that loved, everybody going at it free for all. Well, they were still in their developmental phase of their life. Like they were still trying to figure shit out and grow up, right? It's pretty sad when we have a society where you can drive a car when you're 16, but you can be exposed to literally murder, rape, child abuse, all of this shit through people sending you links and tricking you into looking at stuff and constantly bombarding you and telling you how ugly you are and how you should kill yourself constantly. It's like we allow that. You would never stand for that in a school. You would never stand for that in school, but we do online. We tolerate it online. It's fine.
It still comes back to the mental health issue.
It does. 100%.
Again, I was
100%.
exposed to all of that kind of stuff. There was less censorship on the internet back in the day than there is now. It can, again, it's like a numbers thing, right? Not really. Not until we were in our later teens.
So here's the reason why I think things might have been a little different for you. And there's always edge cases. Like there's people that can get online and no matter what people say, they have infinite confidence.
It's still the majority. I feel like it is a few outliers who do drastic things that I mean,
but would you agree that social media for those
like
particular
Columbine,
people,
right?
Yeah.
Columbine was right at the edge of when the internet was like public. It's like, what was it, 96 or something?
Yeah.
You can't blame social media for that. Not really. Right? It was one disgruntled kid who kind of infected another disgruntled kid, and they tried to blame it on doom and heavy metal music and stuff.
Well, they always try to go after like guns and games with guns.
It's still a mental health issue. It's still like issue. Yeah. 100%. Okay. Social media is still part of the spoon, right? It's not
instead of social media,
let's compulsion.
Just say instantaneous communication.
Even still, it's not.
Here's the problem for me,
the
though.
Tool. Like, it's the compulsion. It's why something is still a little off inside of you if you are taking all of this stuff and having no way to process it appropriately. I've been attacked and shit on the internet. I've been in Call of Duty lobbies all day long. I've been exposed to some of the most outrageous and inflammatory and
like when you were like 11 or 12?
All of it, yeah, man.
Really? Okay.
All of this stuff. I've seen heads getting chopped off. I've been seeing like E-Bombs World and stuff. I've seen eyeballs hanging out of people's heads. Dude getting punched in the face and half his freaking head collapses into his eyeball. Yeah. I've seen some of the most horrendous stuff that the internet has been able to put in front of me, and I still have no compulsion to kill my fellow man. There's still something else going wrong that is exacerbated by the tools, yes, that is helping to perpetuate the problem, but it is not addressing the problem.
Did you ever feel that your life was in danger?
No.
From anything that you saw?
No.
So you were never truly
I'm strangely detached from it all, honestly.
Like, let me just ask you.
That's a conversation.
If somebody sent an SMS message to your phone, that's an unlisted number that nobody of your friends have, and you get a number that says, and it's a picture of your house, and it says, "I'm going to come and rape your wife and kill her and your son, and then I'm going to kill you in your sleep, and you'll never see it coming." If you got that message, how would you react to it? Would you just be like, "Oh, whatever, fucking internet, just be on the internet"?
No.
Or would you call the cops?
No. I mean,
because there's
still be some steps involved here.
Exactly what happened to me.
I would probably, there'd probably be a non-emergency phone call. I would probably, some other stuff. But again, why is that guy texting you that picture? Why is he sending that message to you? Right. Well,
we found out he was indoctrinated on social media into this Trump train crap. And he was like big on QAnon. And he really thought that there was a conspiracy and we had to overthrow the government. And this is a kid who was 22 years old.
Like those things are still. It's not social media's fault.
No. Here's the thing. This is where I think that
it helps perpetuate the problem, but like
uranium isn't a bomb. You either make it a bomb or you make it a power plant, right? It's not the uranium. It's not the object. Right. I'm saying how the object is used, and social media does not do a good job of preventing young impressionable children, because obviously there's a lot of impressionable children. Like you weren't one of them. Like you would be an interesting case because none of that affected you, like negatively. Like you had enough confidence in yourself.
At least not that I'm aware of. I suppose.
Well, I mean, you like turned out. Well, I mean, like everybody's broken the law, right? I've broken the law. You've broken the law. It's like the whole idea of people just being law-abiding citizens and everything, and being like super well-adjusted, knowing right from wrong and stuff. It doesn't stop people from doing bad things if in the moment they think that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
The question is, what allows them to think it's a good idea? And you're a product of your environment. You can't speak English unless somebody teaches it to you. You're not aware of the existence of God unless somebody reads you the book. You're a product of your environment. So there's something in the environment that is leading to kids becoming mass murderers at a high rate, more than even just 20 years ago, when there was more guns and more crime. They just weren't mass shootings. There was more killings in general, but mass shootings have blown up. And the only thing I can see personally that is overlapped is the amount of information and never being able to escape it because of social media addiction. Like kids that are literally on their phone they go to school, they don't get a break. It used to be you go to school, the kid bullies you on the playground, you have a good cry, you go home that night, you recover from it, you lick your wounds, you go back the next day. Now you don't get a break. If you're social media addicted, your entire life is online. And then you factor in the whole COVID thing over time, and you got everybody now stuck at home and all these kids that aren't going to school. And now they're even more dependent on their phones and stuff to talk to their friends and talk to other people and meet new people. And so I feel like the common denominator when you lay everything out is not even just social media, but just the speed at which random strangers come into contact with each other and convey ideas at a faster rate than the kids can process. Like, I feel like I could indoctrinate a kid. Like, if I wanted to, I could never do this experiment because it wouldn't be ethical. But I do believe I could take like an 11 or 12-year-old kid. I could use my position as a public figure. This has happened with a bunch of other people, and I can manipulate that kid into doing things.
It's like the cult thing, right? Yeah,
100%.
Because like, or like even the
make them feel like they belong.
The bad dog sort of angle, right? Like, it's not pit bulls, it's the owners, right? It's
100%.
And I could turn a golden retriever into a monster if you give me time.
I knew somebody who had a chihuahua that literally bit everybody, including its owner. Like, all it would do is growl and bite, and he thought it was funny, so he'd always scare the dog to get it to bite. And it's like, dude, you realize the reason why the dog is vicious is because you're basically torturing the dog mentally. Constantly. He's like, oh, but he's so funny, he's so cute, he's not gonna hurt you, he's got such tiny little teeth. But you're like, dude, you oh god. That was perfect timing.
The neighbors are coming to get me, they're killing me. That's a fucking UPS guy walking by. Jeez, hang on.
That was funny. Yeah, so the whole thing that I'm trying to say is that I just wish people wouldn't focus on the one thing. Like let's just throw away every object. Doesn't matter what it is. I do understand, just so we're clear, less guns. If we could get less guns in people's hands, then there would be less gun deaths. Would there be less deaths in general?
Probably.
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you, because there's always been murders of every kind. Like, there's a massacre where a guy killed 30 kids with a machete slowly over like an hour period. This is like 20 years ago, because nobody would attack him. 9/11, how many people died on the airplane because a dude had a box cutter? Nobody wanted to risk getting cut by a razor blade, so everybody died. One guy could have just got a cut on his arm and they could have taken that plane back. Every single one of them. They didn't have guns, they only had box cutters, but nobody wanted to be the person in the front that gets cut, so everybody died. So but that's the problem that you have is you're not going to stop the killing unless you stop the environmental contaminant that's making people want to kill, giving them that weird compulsion, not just to kill, but like horrendously kill strangers in large amounts that you don't even know who these people are. You're so disconnected that like these humans mean no more to you than shooting a deer, even less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I just want to see that get addressed. And every single time this happens, every headline, everything I read, everything in the mainstream media, it's either we need more guns or we need less guns. And it's like, okay, that is 10% of the problem. The 90% of the problem is why. Let's do some research. I personally think social media is the one common denominator that I see allowing people to communicate at breakneck speed. And I've also seen its impact on me and why I need therapy. And the majority of what my therapy conversations are based on the constant stress I have from the environment that I live in 24/7. So I would like to see that get improved instead of us just going, okay, we take away the guns, then they use knives. We take away the knives, then they use bombs. We take away the bombs, then they use cars. We take away all those things. Everybody just starts building them and keeps doing it anyways. We create a secondhand market, just like prohibition.
So
now
we shouldn't do
got
anything.
Automatic weapons.
Yeah. Huh? So we shouldn't do anything.
No. We should do both.
Yeah.
That we should absolutely do both. Because again, I'm not saying, because if I had the argument, let's not do anything about guns, then let's not do anything about cars either.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of license. Let's get rid of insurance. It'll just be a free for all. Fuck seatbelts. We'll just go through the window. It's fine. No, of course there is an argument to make things safer.
Yeah.
Right. But prohibition doesn't work. It's honestly
one
of our few amendments that we make. Full on prohibition doesn't work. You can't take everything away from somebody and expect criminals not to create a second market for it. We failed with drugs. Not a single thing that we've done prohibition on. Doesn't matter. Drugs, anything way to leave. We've never stopped any of it. It's never in the history of man has anything been stopped in this country by just simply making it illegal.
Yeah.
And in some cases, making it illegal actually made it way worse. Way worse. Our prisons are full of people that smoked weed. There's people on like death row for having weed, and now you can go buy it at the store in a bunch of states and just smoke it. Or if you're caught with it in a state where it's illegal, it's like you won't even go to jail. They'll just confiscate it and write you a ticket.
Yeah.
Like, but it used to be you'd go to jail. There's people literally serving life sentences for that. So it just goes to show that making something illegal does not deter it from law-abiding citizens. Like law-abiding citizens, sure, they're going to follow the law, but they were never the problem. The problem was never the dude that was just smoking weed. It was the dude that was like literally killing people to steal it and like killing his customers to sell it and cutting off people's head and doing the mob shit. That was the problem guy, not the dude smoking it. So the problem that we find ourselves in is every time this happens, everybody's like, we just got to fix the gun problem and it'll all go away. And I see that. That's my argument. If everybody said just do both, like let's do mental health and let's make guns harder to get, especially for youngsters, right? Let's do that. I would be elated. The problem is anybody that talks about mental health, they're like, oh no, mental health is dumb. You're just escaping it, you gun loving son of a bitch. And it's like, no, that is not it at all. It's because you guys are raised. And I think a lot of the reason why people don't want to address mental health is one, there's a shame aspect to it. Two, there's blame. It's your fault and it's my fault if these mass killers exist, because if they exist and the mechanism for them existing is the environment that we create for these guys, we're guilty, man. And I feel like people don't want to have that blame. They'd rather it just be an object, like oh, you're addicted to drugs. Oh, it's the heroin. That's the reason why you're addicted to drugs. No, it's like, no, if it wasn't heroin, it'd be something else. It's like you're addicted to drugs because you have a mental compulsion to go and take something for escapism. But nobody wants to recognize that, because that is to accept blame. That is to accept something. And I just wish people would just be like, listen, figure it out. I want everybody to go do their research. Figure out what the hell is making kids from this very specific generation within this very specific, like 12-year window. What is making these people into mass murderers that keep repeating the same process of trying to kill as many people as possible and one up the last guy and get on the media going out in a blaze of glory?
Yeah.
What is causing that? Because that's what I don't see anybody working on. And that's what pisses me off. Like, because therapy has helped me, but not everybody has therapy. Mental health is expensive. Like if they had to watch this kid and the parents were like, oh, he's spending every dime he has on weapons and stockpiling ammo, and he's like low-key sending messages to his girlfriend about like shooting up elementary schools. Oh, that's just kids, kids just being kids. They don't mean it. It's angst.
That's the thing. That's what killed me is like, oh, this just how they are online. Well, but that shouldn't just be a brush it under the rug and like, that's just the way it is.
Would still be alive right now, or 19? Is it 19 or 20?
Why are we allowing? We've taken
go on forever.
This whole thing today, but yeah, I got to use the restroom.
Oh, yeah,
we'll start on our regular.
Yeah, when you get back, we're gonna get on a different topic. It's wild. It's information overload. I feel like you're driving yourself crazy thinking about this stuff too much, and it's consuming the information too much. Well, no, absolutely. I 100% agree. That's why I'm in therapy. See, this is the thing is you're making the assumption that my environment is choice. Like it's not choice. You can't just shut off. You can't not read something until you've read it. I could just shut down social media, but then how do I make a living? My living is online. I'm a content creator. Like how do I be competitive? How do I make a living if I don't ever look at anything or I don't read anything? Blissful ignorance is why we have these problems. Everybody ignoring it is the problem. Like if I just ignore it like everybody else and go, oh, until my kid dies, I'm not going to be interested, then that does nothing. If viruses like pandemics come around like COVID, and I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about it until my son or my wife dies. Like if my grandma dies, no big deal. If my aunt dies, if my friends die, whatever. Until it's my son or that, I'm not going to get involved because it's just too much stress. No, because the problem is people that have way too much time on their hands are going to be out there spreading misinformation. And unless there's something to challenge that, if all the smart people stay quiet while the stupid people are running their mouth, you get idiocracy. We've already seen that. So ignoring it's not an option, no matter how much I want. So the way I deal with it is therapy. I have a therapist that helps me break it down and understand the human psychology and understand why people make death threats just because you don't like their president, or why somebody threatens to injure your wife or injure your child because you don't think Elon is the smartest person on planet Earth. Like, what is the compulsion that drives people to jump to such a crazy level and visualize you not as a human being, but as a target? What makes somebody that fucked up? You know, that's what I want to understand, and that's what I'm learning. That's why I'm doing my research. While everybody else is just going back and forth, going, "Oh, ban the guns or more guns." You know, oh, get rid of all the guns or arm the shit out of all the teachers. It's one or the other. Everybody's like binary. It's going to fix all the problems. It's like, no, the police didn't solve this problem. They basically sat outside for an hour fiddling their butthole because they were afraid to go inside because this kid had body armor on. They didn't want to get shot. So they basically 9/11'd it. They were like, oh, he's got a box cutter. I'm not going in. No, are you going in? No, you don't going in. No, I'm not going in. Just letting kids get slaughtered. So they didn't do their job. You cannot depend on the police. It's nice that they're there. It's nice when it works, but you can't depend on them in a life or death situation. So I'm never going to begrudge somebody for wanting to protect themselves when you live in a country where every single person has like 10 guns. Like, that's a problem. Like, if I lived in a country where nobody had guns, they were never imported, and the people that are making guns, like if somebody just catches wind of it, they throw them in jail for 100 years, then I would feel slightly safer. But I wouldn't feel 100% safe. But here in the United States, I do not feel safe. In the United States, it's mutually assured destruction at this point, and I can't change it. So all I can do is match it. So, and people don't understand that, and that's okay. You know, that's okay that people don't understand it, because again, we're all products of different life experiences, and my life experiences are different, right? And everybody has a bias. Like, there's no such thing as an unbiased opinion. You're from the second that you become aware of a situation, you're already biased one way or the other based on how you were raised. You know, what kind of religion you follow, what kind of morale, your culture, all those things influence your bias towards a topic. So I'm trying to be as neutral as I can, but of course I'm biased just like everybody else. If you think you have an unbiased opinion or your opinion is more valid because it's unbiased, you're lying to yourself, because your opinion's biased as mine is 100%. But what I'm offering is a concession. I'm offering a concession saying, yeah, let's still work on the gun situation. Like, let's still have a legal avenue for law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves and their family, because we've already proven that criminals are getting crazier and crazier, and there's more killings and more stuff going on. So obviously we're in more danger now than we ever were, if you ask anybody. So it doesn't make sense to prevent people from being able to protect themselves. However, I think it would be more advantageous for our tax dollars to be spent, me personally, on finding the root cause of what is turning these kids into monsters. What is the mechanism? And me personally, from my life experience, being online and being a social media addicted person myself, and living through a lot of that stress and seeing how it affects me long term and how it's affected my health, I can 100% with 100% certainty say that the internet isn't just this thing that everybody just passively ignores and it's no big deal and it's just for a laugh. It's like, no, the internet is a big part of everybody's life, whether they admit it or not. And that unfortunately is allowing people to easily and covertly fall in with the wrong crowds. And parents aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention. And because they don't understand it. Legislators aren't paying attention because they're too old. They don't understand. They think the internet is just like Facebook and that their kids are protected because Facebook has rules. No, it's not how it works. It's because of this big divide of information versus like what the parents know and what the kids know. It's allowing these kids to basically get off and get radicalized, because there's no denying that these kids are radicalized. Like, if you're going to go shoot grandma in the face and go drive to school and shoot a bunch of kids you don't know for the sole purpose of being killed by a cop and making the media is like the biggest killer in the world, you're fucked up. Like, you're suicide bomber at that point. This kid is no different than a suicide bomber. He used a different mechanism, but that's exactly what he was doing. Okay. I just want to see something happen on both sides. That's it.
Yeah.
End of story. Just happen on both sides. Let's see here. What is our let's get on to a happier topic now.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I understand not everybody's going to agree. That nobody's going to agree 100% on anything, and that would suck if they did, because that would like ruin the whole democracy side of it, right? Part of the little freedom we do have is the freedom to disagree. So I just want to know, I understand your point of views. And if you hate guns, rock on, I 100% support you in wanting to keep them away from you. I would never bring one anywhere near you. I wish more people were like that. Unfortunately, they're not. All right. So let's talk about haptic kissing in VR. Ooh, that's a good segue. Maybe this would stop the killings. Maybe
kissing.
This is all just angst, built up angst. And then, you know, maybe they're not allowed to masturbate because of like some passage in a book or something. Maybe we just give them some.
I like kissing.
Give them some. Kissing's awesome, dude. Yeah, that's the what do they call it? The starter meal. Like you have like a 7-course meal. That's like the starter meal. Bring that in there. Get your palate nice and clean, ladies. So there's a new technology Let me see if I can find the tab here. VR. Okay, so scientists create a mouth haptic VR tech that lets you feel spiders crawl on your lips. I mean, they're joking. It's supposed to be to simulate kissing. And what it is it's a haptic sensor. Let me give you guys the link here in chat. So this is a haptic sensor, and I didn't know this technology existed. Like, haptics, right? Haptics are like when your phone vibrates and you put your finger on it.
Yeah,
you can simulate
when
the feeling of edge on buttons and moving knobs and stuff through vibration.
Yeah.
Well, this haptic sensor is one I've never seen before. Apparently, there's a beam steering transducer that can basically like push the air and give you a sensation like wirelessly on your lips and on your face in general.
Huh.
So this company has created. What's that?
Oh, I'm just mumbling the lines.
Yeah, so they created a technology that basically has all these transducers that are aimed on a grid on your face underneath the headset, right? It's called mouth haptics, and it uses these ultrasound phased arrays, not unlike like a 5G beam steered array for like your phone, right? For high speed internet, but they're doing it with sound that you can feel, like it's within a frequency like a subwoofer, where it can actually vibrate and give you a sensation of touch.
Yeah,
and it can do it with like a fair amount of accuracy because there's a lot of them. I mean, it looks like they're right. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it looks like probably about 12 across. So you got a 7 by 12 array of these transducers that can pinpoint and give you the sense. Each one gives you a sensation of touch. So you could and it can, if you have a headset that can track your mouth, it could actually track the mouth of another user wearing the VR headset, and you could literally make out with them, and it would track where your lips were, how they were moving, and print that sensation across the board. So this type of technology, though, they're using it for the mouth because they said the reason that they picked the mouth was because the lips are like one of the most sensitive parts on the human body.
Makes sense.
And so that actually makes sense to pick that, right? And plus, it's integrated into the headset, so you're not wearing like crazy rigs and stuff like that. They have all this stuff because they're using just this ultrasonic motor that can be built into the bottom of any head-mounted display. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. But if you think about it, if this works and you can get the sensation of haptic touch wirelessly beamed onto the surface of your skin, what's stopping you from having like these beam emitters on your walls and your room?
Ooh,
and having it do it over your whole body and like mapping it in real time to your motion with the thing. So it's like somebody like shoots you in Team Fortress or whatever the game is, and it's like, or paintball, and you feel it hit you exactly on your body where it does.
Cool.
Or go over to the little adult spicy VR website, and you could have the sensation of things moving up and down on any body part. Without touching you, like no more having to wear the haptic vest and put on the haptic pants. They already have those, and they're wildly expensive. If you gain like 5 pounds, it won't fit it anymore, right? It's like that stuff is hugely custom tailored, and it only gives you some sensation. It doesn't give you full body sensation. This technology could potentially give you full body sensation.
Cool.
So they're starting with the lips, but this can actually be scaled to other things because they can wirelessly emit the sound that you feel tingling like on your lips and even in your mouth. So I'm like, so teabagging in Team Fortress 2. Feel somebody teabagging you in TF2? That would be hilarious.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
But the interesting thing with technology like this is you think about it from like, okay, the game, now you can feel things inside of the game world, but it also means that you'd be able to feel things from other players inside of the game. So imagine if you're doing VR chat and somebody like runs their hand along your arm and you actually feel their fingers traversing down your arm. Now it's not going to stop their arm. They're going to have to hover, otherwise their hand would just go through your arm. But they could make the haptics get stronger as you go down, so that you know if you're inside of something. Like if it's a solid object or a hollow object, you'd be able to feel that. So you could contour and move along things, and your brain would adapt to it and be like, anytime I feel that haptic sensation, stop moving. That's the edge. That's the boundary.
Huh.
But the cool thing is this would also let blind people do VR.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because blind people would be able to feel the environment, right? Walking around and feeling the walls, and even have a virtual cane that knocks into things. Like they could potentially get involved in VR themselves without needing the stereoscopic display to give them that depth of field. They could feel their way through it. So these senses are pretty cool. And remember, they also did that project. You probably remember this from a couple years ago. It unfortunately got scrapped because of the vape juice ban thing, the flavored vape juice.
Sure.
Yeah, the thing that stuck on the HMD that would basically release scents. So you had like a scent cartridge that had like it was like 6 or 12 primary scents, and then it could mix them in a chamber and release them, and it could make any other smell. It was like taking RGB to create any color, but you took these foundation smells, and by mixing them together, you could create anything from a fart to like chicken dinner. And that got canceled, unfortunately. I remember I went to the CES the year that got canceled, and they pulled out their booth because there was legislation passed that said, because vaping was appealing to children because of the flavored juices, unfortunately this was considered a vaping object because it used the same mechanism to dispense it. And so they could no longer manufacture. It ruined the whole project. The whole company went under. It was like one of the biggest things. It was going to be named as like CES Technology of the Year, and they completely got wiped off their board, and their entire business went underground because of one law change. How screwed up is that? Like that's one thing. Yeah, freedom isn't what you think. But if you combine something like that with this haptic array that could also give you sensation on your body, and then combine that with things like wind generators and fans and stuff like that that can generate weather and humidity, you're getting really close to like Ready Player One shit, like where you put on your headset and you are literally transported into another world and another environment. Yeah. And I think that's awesome, because I really think that's something that we may see within our lifetimes. Like it looks like it's evolving at a rate that if it keeps going down this path and VR continues to grow its segment, which it is. It's not growing as fast as people wanted it to, but the technology is getting good enough now that most people that got sick in VR before aren't getting as sick now. So they'll eventually get to the point where it's like they have 1,000 hertz refresh, no delay at all, so that normal people, people that are sensitive to motion sickness and stuff like that, it's going to fix all that. All that will be fixed at some point, and then it'll be available to the entire public. And once it does that, and there's that much more money pumped into it, you're going to see this technology grow exponentially. And they also have haptic gloves. Did you ever see the haptic gloves that they have that actually do stop your hand? That was pretty cool.
You can like feel you're grabbing the ball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like it'd pull back on your fingers. So like if you grabbed a ball, it would actually put tension back on your fingers, and you could squeeze the ball, and it felt like you were in the glove. It felt like you were really holding a ball and squeezing it. But what was really happening is you're not holding anything. It's just these little tendon things when you hit the boundary are preventing your finger from going any further. And it gives you the sensation of touch. And I even saw a really cool technology. They're super expensive though, and prototypey. Like you're not going to buy them for like playing games, but and they're pretty big too. But the one that I saw also had these little inflatable pockets. Did you see that on the fingertips? There's one that has an array. It's like a 24 by 24 array of these tiny little rubber domes that inflate and deflate, and it can give you touch sensation on the tips of your fingers and your thumb. So as you're dragging your finger over something, you can feel the texture because it's literally mapping the texture. Like as you're going over it, it's inflating and deflating those little bubbles so rapidly that you can actually feel texture, like sanded wood or rock or stone. Like you can actually feel the friction dragging your finger across it, because as you were dragging your fingers, it would track your hand, and it would update and change the geometry. So those little bubbles were moving around on your fingertips. I was like, dude, that's like, but it sounds like they could do that with like haptics now, right? Like with if this works, this phased array thing, which it looks like it does, you could do that with the phased array. Now you don't need gloves anymore. All you need is emitters on your desk within proximity of your hands. And no matter where you move your hands, the arrays could be motorized and moved to engage your hands wherever they're at. And then scale that up to bigger emitters so it can really put down some power, right? And have those on your walls. And now you could have this thing like literally like, it'd feel like people were flicking you and shoving you around and stuff. But it'd all just be high-powered sound. I don't know. This stuff, I don't know. It makes me excited, like for the future.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
I mean, it's all going to turn into people virtually ball fondling in VR chat, but at the end of the day, it's like sex drives everything, dude. Let's not even deny it. Like sex drives everything. Omni Arena. I remember this, where you run in place.
Oh yeah, the Omni. Yeah, for they were looking for omnidirectional treadmills. Yeah, and like that's totally a thing.
That's the cheap one.
So Omni, the Omni, you basically wear socks, and it's just like a slick sort of bowl that you're running around in. But the other one is the Infinideck. That's much more of a track.
That's the one that's the treadmill that can go sideways and forward, right?
And that thing looks huge and expensive.
It is very huge and expensive. I watched a YouTube video on one of the guys I watch who does VR did a review of it, and he was like, hey, when can I get one? And he was like, yeah, you can't afford it.
Right?
This is not for you to go play, your video games, and this is for like, medical applications. The Omni Arena though, I know some people that have used that and they say it's really weird, but just like anything, you get used to it.
Yeah,
there's a video of a guy who runs across the entire universe of Morrowind and Elder Scrolls. He starts on one end and he literally runs a marathon through the entire game all the way to the other side, and it's like 11 miles or something like that. And when he got to the other side, he already like wore out the surface of the shoes. Like the shoes have like these little plastic sliders. And they already need to be replaced. He wore through the whole thing running like 11 miles, like as hard as he could. And I was like, that's kind of cool because he was inside of a world and you can watch the whole video. He doesn't time lapse it. Like you're in the video for the whole 7 miles he's running. And he's like dodging through brush and running past people and like, climbing up the mountains and stuff like that. I mean, you're not really climbing. You're just kind of like running into it. It slows you down. But it's kind of cool because he said at first it didn't feel very realistic. But the more he did it, his body started adjusting and then he started feeling like he was really there.
Oh, yeah.
He said just being able to move your legs in that manner, even though
you get used to stuff. Man, you get used to weird. Your brain will adjust very quickly to weird external stuff like that and just accept it as true. One of my favorite experiments for that sort of thing is, I think it was like in the 70s, they gave a group of like 6 guys these glasses that turned everything upside down. That's it. Just
I remember that.
And it took like a couple days, but eventually their brain adjusted, accepted this is the reality of things, and they were able to function totally fine. They got over it, and everything's a little backwards or upside down or something, and it's fine. And then they took them off, and it's like, oh fuck, everything's back to normal. It's really weird. And at the same similar sort of adjustment period, but it got fine. Dude, all kinds of stuff like that. Your brain will just accept the input as like, well, we have to wear a belt and our feet kind of are slippery. Well, that's just the way reality is now. That's fine.
Yep.
Totally cool. Especially something small like that. Like, there's like a belt on me and my feet slip. You'll figure that out real fast. You've been walking for decades. You'll figure that out real fast.
Right? Astronauts, they train in the 0G jet that goes up, the parabolic jet.
Oh yeah.
Comet. They go up and train for 0G in that because if they just do the weight, the tank, the water tank, the neutral buoyancy tank, if they just do that, they still have their compass. Basically, their body still knows what down is. Yeah. But when you're in 0G, your body feels like it's in free fall, but you eventually get used to it. Like it goes from free fall to you just feel like you're floating.
Nice.
And so people, when they go up to space for the first time, and they like, as long as they're strapped into a chair, they still feel like their body knows which way is down because they're pulled into the chair. But as soon as they undo the straps and come out of it, they can get a little bit of vertigo because their body's like, whoa, I'm falling, but I don't know which direction I'm falling. And then your body tries to convince you that you're falling in a direction that you're not. And you'll have a compulsion to catch yourself. So sometimes you'll see the astronauts, like when they're up there, they'll get out there and they'll be like they'll do a quick, like, oh. And it's because they got to fight that compulsion of falling. But then they say being on the space station for just it doesn't take long. It's like a couple of minutes. After a couple of minutes, you just immediately start to get your reference frame of everything around you. And it's like you're technically falling at like 17,500 miles per hour, but you just don't notice because everything around you is also falling at that speed. And so your brain starts keying off of reference points instead of trusting its inner ear. So if you ever see people on the International Space Station, they're like, hey, which way is up and down? And they're like, whichever way I'm oriented. So now their brain will always see it. So even if they just go from the floor up to the ceiling, they said it just flips the world. Like they feel like they're the ones that's right side up and everybody else is upside down.
Yeah.
And that's pretty damn cool. And then when they come back to Earth, sometimes they struggle with shit because they're so used to being weightless that they'll do stuff like, I remember it was it Mark Kelly? Yeah, Mark Kelly. Or was it Mark or Scott? I think it was Scott. Scott was the one that went to space, right?
I think so, yeah.
On the space station. He said when he came back after he was up there for like, I think it was a year and a half, longest time a man's been in space. When he came back from that, he said it took him like a month to stop dropping his toothbrush.
Oh, I bet.
Because he'd pull out his toothbrush
let it
and
go.
He'd get the toothpaste and then he would just let go of it and it'd just fall on the floor. And he said no matter how much he thought about it, he'd wake up tired, he'd get out of bed, and he'd just go drop his toothbrush on the floor over and over and over again. And it took him forever to figure out like how to stop doing that. And he said he had to be careful because when he was eating and stuff like that, he was used to just releasing the food and letting it free float between bites. And so he'd grab like his fork and he'd get some food on or whatever, and he'd just let go of the fork. And the fork would fall on the table and make a mess. And it's just funny because it's like being up there for that long, his brain felt like that was normal, right? 100% that was normal. And coming back was the weird thing he had to adapt to, even though he spent his entire life doing it that way.
Yeah.
And he also said showers felt weird. That was the other thing. He said he loved it when he took a shower. Like first thing he did when he got back was jump in his pool and go take a shower. He loved the shower, but he said it feels really weird because your brain doesn't visualize fluid dynamics like that anymore. Like water doesn't have weight. It doesn't have mass like hitting you. and shedding off your body. It's like it's scary because if water gets on your face in space, it can like literally stick in your eyes and stick in your nose. It's like a very sticky substance in 0G, but on Earth it just sheds off. And so like getting in a shower, it's like he had to like reacclimate that too. He's like, oh, this is weird. Like the water is shedding off of me when, you know, it normally be clinging to me.
Right.
So it is pretty crazy what the human brain can overcome. Like, and I think VR, that same thing would happen if VR gets comfortable enough that you can stay in it for a period, you know, longer and longer period of time. Then I'd imagine the longer that you stay in per session, the faster that you're going to adapt to it. And then it's not going to be like weeks or months to adapt to something. It's going to be like you're going to be in there for a couple of days. And that's going to be the world now. I actually don't know if that's such a good thing. But, you know, it's like people start starving to death and shit because they're just in there eating VR food. And it's not real, but they're like, oh man, I ate like 2 pizzas. I couldn't possibly take another bite. And they're like dying in the real world from like multiple organ failure.
Dang.
Gamers Unite said there's a video game where toe guys go in a centrifugal type machine and practice throwing a ball across to each other. Oh, the coriander effect thing. Yeah. Eventually they learn how to throw it straight while spinning. Yeah, I saw that. They naturally will start throwing into the curve because their brain knows the curvature and it'll just compensate. It's like those guys that shoot the long range rifles, the guys that shoot like the 2+ mile targets. Have you seen those guys where it's like they get down and they get so used to it that they can actually like adjust a ballistic trajectory for like 2 miles and hit a grouping of like a foot? Jeez. And you're like, how? Because the curvature of the earth affects your shot. Like your shot will be off by 20 feet. Like they're aiming over here and they'll hit the target. And they just, after doing it for a long time, they no longer need the spotter to like go back and forth a million times. They just get them in the general area and they're like, oh, I know if I shoot here, that's where it's going to hit. And it's pretty wild that their brain can adjust to actually like the curvature of the earth and the speed at which the earth is rotating. Yeah. Because that starts to make that starts to become important when you're going like 2 miles to something. The backwards bike and also the upside down vision glasses were the two things that tricked the brain. Was the backwards bike the one where you turn one direction and it turns the other direction?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I saw a video on that once where they were just like letting people ride this bike and they'd tell them what it was going to do so they could expect it, and they could not balance no matter what they did.
Like pass pedal backwards and turn different and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's the Coriolis effect, not the coriander.
Coriolis. Yeah.
Coriander is like an herb or something, isn't it?
It's the seeds of cilantro.
Oh, so cilantro, the cilantro seed
Which,
effect?
In fact, only in the United States, as far as I'm aware, only in the United States do we make a distinction between coriander, the seeds, and cilantro, the plant. Like everywhere else, it's all coriander. It's just the plant or the seeds.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah. I've seen on different cooking shows and stuff. At least I don't know how ubiquitous that may be, or I don't know. Some folk may just follow the U.S. breakup of it like that, but yeah, coriander is cilantro seeds. Oh yeah.
So what do you? I don't know. What do you guys think about VR kissing? Is that going to be the future? Like
I'm down.
You're gonna have to take your kid to the doctor because he's got like digital mono.
Yeah.
Be like, were you kissing them girls in there again? Like, what were you doing? The one thing I do worry about with, and the cameras already make this like a big problem, is like parents just give their kids phones, and like Xander doesn't even have a phone. Like I don't even let him have a phone. He has an iPad and it's like locked down, and you know you can't do a lot of stuff with it. And it's because, man, can you ruin your life really quick? Just like if you're a kid and you just do one innocent thing that like everybody did when they were kids, and now it's on the internet forever and your life's ruined. It's like, that's another thing kind of scares me about the internet too, is like, you don't get a do-over like on stuff. Like when we were kids, it's like, if you threw a rock through the neighbor's window, it's like, okay, eventually you move away to a new location and nobody ever knows unless you tell them. Right. With the internet, it's like, it's forever. You know, it's like, you're always going to be Star Wars kid. Like I watched a documentary where, they basically went back and found all these kids that were memes over the last like 15 years.
Right.
And like figured out like where their life is at today and ask them like how it affected them and stuff. And it was like, there was a couple that said that they liked it. Like it was a positive experience for them, but the vast majority of them were like, you know, I almost committed suicide. I couldn't escape this. I tried to change my look so that people wouldn't recognize me. It was very embarrassing and I couldn't escape it. And it's like, it was just really sad to watch that because everybody like laughs at the memes, right? They're like, but to those people, it was just bringing them absolute sorrow. And I don't think people, when they're using it, they don't think about it that way. They're like, oh man, this is just funny. But it's like, you sharing it in that context is actually inviting a bunch of, mentally ill people to go and harass them and try to push them over the edge because they want them to do something else that's meme worthy. It's like dance, monkey, dance. And that's another problem that I think kind of affects kids too is, oh God, that's a good one that we didn't cover, is clout.
Oh man,
kids nowadays, and I've seen
that's
this.
A weird one, right?
It's a weird one, dude. Weird one.
Like a lot of the weird social media stuff that I've bumped into is more from the intern, my younger daughter.
Sure.
Because she seems to care a lot more about that stuff than the teenager, which
I'd imagine
that's a little strange, but I think it's partly because as the teenager has gotten older, she's just doesn't care as much about that stuff. But it's weird. It's weird. Like I'll be talking about somebody who is famous in my circles, right? And like she'll look them up. Oh, they've only got like 100,000 followers on TikTok. I'm like, yeah, but the guy makes like $1 million a month doing YouTube videos. Like, who gives a fuck how many followers? Like, what does that mean? Like, they're less legit because they have fewer followers. Like, the followers don't matter. Like,
so check this out, my neighbors.
That seems to be that's the litmus test. Is like, oh, how many followers do you have on like TikTok or Snapchat or whatever? And I'm like, you don't really understand how this works, or why is that even why popular? Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good. Like, I've had that discussion a bunch of times.
That's
like,
the thing is, it doesn't matter. Popular is good. The popular is the good to them. And associating with that popular, and this is where you get the echo chambers, right? Is you want to align with that popular so you can be popular by proxy. And now you're automatically assigned to whatever that person says, even if it's against what you think, you will think that way to continue that association. That's pure doc. That's Jimstown, or was it Jonestown? Yeah, Jonestown and Doxination right there. Because here's an interesting fact. So in my cul-de-sac where I live, neighbors have a bunch of kids, and I watched them all grow up. Like, they were all babies when we moved in, and now they're all teenagers, right? They're all like 17, 18, 19 years old. And the weird thing is I remember when I told my neighbors, like, my neighbors were like, hey, what do you do? And it's like, oh, first I worked at Microsoft. Now I'm like, oh, I'm on YouTube. Oh, that's cool. Is that like you make those videos and stuff? Yeah, cool. Like, no big deal, right? From the parents. When the kids caught wind of it, the kids started like coming over while I was mowing my lawn and stuff, going, oh my God, you're on the internet? Yeah, dude. Oh, what's your channel? I want to follow you right now. Oh my God, you have 840,000 subs? Oh my God, dude, I got to tell my friend. And then next thing you know, they're like bringing over their friends, and the kid over in the next cul-de-sac's coming over, and they're like, hey, what's your next video going to be, man? I watched all your videos last night and everything. And it's like, okay, well, this is interesting. But you start to notice the difference between the generations. The parents are like, oh, you do a thing on the internet? Oh, that's cool. The kids are like, how many followers do you have?
Yeah.
Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? How many views do you get on an Instagram? How much money do you make when you do that? Like, the kids are way more about the clout. They don't care about the content. They're just about the clout. Like, they don't give a shit if I make content that is completely uninteresting to them. As long as I have a huge following, to them, they feel like they can brag to their friends and say that they know me. And now they know a bigger YouTuber and converse with them, regardless of what they make. They have a bigger YouTuber they converse with, and then it makes their friends jealous, and that makes them happy because they're like, oh, I live next to a big YouTuber. And it's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing to observe because it's a very different mentality from those two generations, right?
Yeah, it's it's so weird. It started like with the Charli D'Amelio kind of thing. Like, oh, she's got 4 million followers on TikTok. I go, okay. She still sucks. Like, it's not. Rephrase. It's not my content. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter how many followers you got. I don't give a shit about watch your content.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not. I don't know the people that I follow on TikTok. I don't even know how many followers they have. I don't. That is not why I follow them. And it's super weird. It's just super weird.
The thing that worries me about the whole cloud aspect, though, is that kids see, like, we used to see celebrities. Like, when we grew up, it's like, if you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger at the mall, you'd be like, oh my God, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, and if he shook your hand and talked to you, you'd brag about that to all your friends for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I met the man, right?
Right.
Nowadays, that's transitioned to influencers.
For sure.
Did you meet the man?
Not Arnold.
Okay, all right. I got to see who this is. Hold on. Let's do a little flex.
This is my mouse pad. Sign my mouse pad. I'll sign my mouse pad, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's a couple devs of Just Cause 3 on here. Yeah, here we go. A couple of guys from Just Cause 3. I got Towley. That's Towley. That's Tim the Tap Man.
Sacriel, Tap Man.
Jericho, aka Tucker. Vern Notice, Pocket, Ezekiel, Cody, Gold Glove, Shorty, and Arulian. She used to. I don't know if she still works for Twitch. Lyric. I'm very proud of this one.
Lyric's a big one.
This fucking weirdo named Jerry Berg. I think he goes by Barnacules on the YouTube. That's Summit 1G, my partner Rep Elaine back when I was still streaming for Puget.
Yeah. That Matt's been places.
The Buttress, Moose, K Pike's ex-husband now. And I can't remember what this is.
Moose or whatever. Yeah,
Moose the M there. A few others. Oh, this Gears art right there. I don't know this one. I don't recognize. Oh, Waffle. I
know Waffle.
A buddy of Lyrics. I don't know this one, but yeah. So
dude, that's cool.
I'm very proud.
Everybody signed the side of my case.
You signed my mouse pad. My mouse pad.
I'm on there, bro.
But
that was back when I was famous.
I need to get back into going to cons and stuff so I can actually just like hang this up. That was the plan. Was like this would be like a tapestry I could hang with all the cool. And this was back. This I have to tell you, this was back when Tim the Tap Man was still like less than 10,000 concurrent.
Oh, serious?
Like this was before the Super Bowl commercial. This was before he really blew up. This was when he was still doing like surfing in CS:GO.
What event were you at where you got that sign?
This was
that TwitchCon or something?
I think this was a PAX.
Okay.
Most of these upper ones I think were a PAX. The Lyric and Shorty, Arulian, Summit, from about here down, from Pocket or so down, is the first TwitchCon I went to. And actually Pocket, I was at the keynote for the first, which would have been the second TwitchCon ever. I was at the keynote at the beginning and I'm like, oh shit, there's fucking Lyric. Which is super weird for me to be like geeking out over a celebrity who's like 10 years younger than me, but still.
I do it too. It's hard not to.
I'm like, oh man, that's Lyric. He was chatting with Shorty and I think Shorty's. Oh, that might be the. Oh no, I missed getting Shorty's girlfriend at the time. Her signature. But I'm like, oh man, that's Lyric. I don't want to be like that weirdo, right? Who just comes up and like, hey man, you're super cool. Eh? And I'm like talking with a guy I met, like, man, should I go over there? Like, and Pocket was sitting there like a row ahead of me. She goes, just go, man. It's totally cool. Just do it. Go over there. We love this stuff. Like, that's big reason why we're here. And I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking Pocket. Pocket. And like, she's almost geeking.
Well, you remember back in my heyday, I'd go to PDX land and there'd be people just standing behind me, just standing there. Just like they didn't want to interrupt me. They didn't want to say anything. I just have a crowd just sitting there hovering. I'd be like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? And then they'd be like, oh my God.
If she hadn't have encouraged me to go do that, I don't think I would ever have gotten Lyric's autograph, because he rarely goes to cons, rarely travels anywhere. And I don't think he's been to another TwitchCon since. Wow. And I think he'll do PAX East or something or used to, like, for a day or two. So for me, it was always when YouTubers like knew who I was, that I was like fangirl and hard over. Like, that always blew my mind. Like when I go to like Linus Tech Tips episode, I met like Strange Parts and he knew who I was. Yeah. So man, I watch you make those 3D printing videos or whatever. I'm like, dude, how the hell does this guy know who I am? Or Ben Heck, that was a big one back in the day. That's cool. It's cool. And Chris Perillo, when he was on G4, I grew up with Chris Perillo on G4 Tech TV with him and what's the other guy's name? The Twit guy. Ant Pruitt? Twit? No. The main guy, Leo Laporte. Oh, yeah, Leo Laporte. Yeah. So I grew up on G4 Tech TV with Leo Laporte and Chris Perillo doing Call for Help. Yeah. And so when I saw that Chris Perillo had like a YouTube channel, I used to actually troll him. It was funny. I used to we actually started on a bad foot. Like, I trolled him in the comments, was kind of a dick to him, but it was one of those things where I was just trying to get his attention back in the day. And then I figured out he actually lived near me, and we went and got coffee together, and then we just became great friends. Still are to this day. And it was just, when I met him, I was like, it's just weird. It's like, dude, you were on my TV. Like, growing up, you were on my TV, and it wasn't that he was on YouTube. I didn't care he was on YouTube. I was like, dude, you were on my TV. You're that guy.
You know, and it's just it's weird, but yeah, you still, no matter what, you'll still fangirl. Like if I met like Cody from Cody's Lab, or like Nile Red, or William Osmond, or any of those guys in person, I'd be equally just like stunned, right? Like even though these are guys that look the same as me, right? They're doing their YouTube thing or whatever, and I'm sure that they don't think that they're anything special. It's just wild. It's like, yeah, you watch people, you watch enough of their content, and you start to feel like you know them. Yeah. And then so I understand that parasocial relationship that happens with other people, because it even happens to me, and I have to like stop myself sometimes, because I'm like, oh, okay, hold on, slow your roll, buddy. It's all right. You don't have to just run up there, because the other thing is, like, going to all those events, you have access to the green room, right? So it's like, if you want to go meet, doesn't matter how big the YouTuber is, you can go in the green room, right? Nobody else can go in the green room but the people that are supposed to be in the green room. So being a content creator, you just go in there and just walk up and meet people. Like, I met Dr. Disrespect when I was at TwitchCon in the special area. That's where I met Kate Pike, for the first time. You could get into those areas and you could meet those people. You'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I got access to this area. But you're like, wait a second, I have access to this area because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And that's where it got surreal, was because you're in there and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting a candy store. And you're like, and everybody else is looking at you like, hey, you're that guy.
Me. Yeah.
You're that guy with that game room setup. Holy shit, that Barnacles or whatever. Oh, dude, I watch your videos all the time. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. It's kind of weird when that happens. Like, and I'd imagine that happens in Hollywood all the time too, where like two actors get on a movie together and it's like, oh, dude, I loved you in that. Oh my God, I love you. I can't believe we're working together. Oh my God. And so, I mean, hell, the biggest example in recent memory would be David Hewlett, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Dude, that still hasn't completely hit home. It's like, usually we're co-hosting on this show, and tomorrow we're playing D&D with like fucking Dr. Rodney McKay from Stargate. The dude was in Cube.
That's so cool.
Like, main character in the Cube movie. Like, I mean, it's just like, holy shit, it's still, that hasn't set in. Or Gina, right? From Trinity from Trailer Park Boys. Good friend now. Made a really good friend of her. And it's just weird that it's like, I've watched every episode of Trailer Park Boys, like every movie, and I absolutely love it. And it's like, she grew up on that show. I think when she started, she was like 7 or 8 years old, and went all the way through, because that show ran for so long, right? Still does, still runs today. And it's just weird to know somebody like that. It's like, dude, I watched like every show. I never thought in a million years that I'd be like, on a video chat or that dating show thing she did. She made me a judge. So I'm sitting here and like judging this like production for her, and I'm like, it's surreal moments, right? Or like even Linus back in the day. I remember the first time I met Linus, man, I was fangirling super hard, because back in the day, come on, back in the day, that's the thing. People give Linus a lot of shit, but he's just a business dude. It's money. It's a money game, right?
Nah, he's got a weird vibe. It's got a weird vibe.
Really, in person?
Some about him. Just. I don't know.
He had a negative encounter with the dude ever.
No. It was nice to me. It was nothing he did, nothing he said, nothing. Just the vibe. The guys. I immediately was like, nope.
Really?
Something about him. Don't like the guy. Something, I don't know. Nothing he did, nothing he says. Part of it's the act, like the character of Linus and the whole dropping shit and all that stuff. Yeah. But like, I don't watch enough of his content to really judge it by that. So like, when he came by Puget, we built them a massive thing and they did some recording and whatnot. Just weird. Just got a weird vibe from him, and I said, I don't like this guy. I think Luke was cool. He's real personable and that kind of stuff. And
well, Luke and I used to be really good friends, but unfortunately Luke had some medical issues that made it so he had to lose a bunch of weight. Weird, and so he unfollowed me and disappeared because it was just too much for him to have to see me posting pictures of food or me eating. So he's like, sorry, but I just can't follow you anymore because the unhealthy lifestyle, and I've got a medical issue where I can't be unhealthy. And I was like, well, it's fine. Yeah. I get it. I understand. You got to get rid of temptation and all that, and that's cool. And honestly, I don't think we've talked to each other since. It's been a couple of years now since that. That one kind of caught me out a little bit though, because it's like, dude, we were actually like on really good terms and everything. It's like, okay, well, I can't eat anymore, so I need to like get fat people out of my life. It's like, goddamn, that's kind of what it felt like. But at the same time, it's like he's always been a really nice dude. Like I met him and hung out with him in Vegas. We were there for CES. And hung out with the rest of the crew, like Taran and stuff, and just sat around, got drunk and talked about video editing for hours. Really, really cool guys. Like, and a lot of them still follow me, and I talk to a lot of them. They're good guys. But Linus never has ever mistreated me. He's always been Like when he invites me to his events, even when I was like my stats were going down and I wasn't really making YouTube or anything, he still extended an invitation and wanted to have me come up and just hang out at LTX. He's like, you don't got to do anything. Just be, I know you like the event. If you want to come, we'll take care of it for you. And I thought that was really nice of him to do that. Like, so yeah, but I get it. It's like he definitely has a vibe about him. It's like you either love him or hate him too. I've noticed that like throughout the group. It's like people either love him or hate him. There's no real gray area. It's like, meh.
Right, and I feel like a little bad about it because like I can't say, oh, it's because he's fucking this guy and rah, 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 or because he did this thing or said that, or it's just man, he's just one of those, just got a weird. I think the aura.
If I had to guess with the aura, I think it's because he is a very business minded guy. Yeah. Like he doesn't eat where he shits, so to speak. Like he is heavily do the script, do the advertisements, run the business, grow the business, get the money, build the empire. Yeah. Like he's very focused in that. And he's actually been really pivotal in growing a lot of other YouTubers too. He even tried me. I just didn't take his advice because I didn't want to do those things. But, other people took his advice. Like, he gave a lot of advice to Jay even. Jay's 2 cents that really worked out and really panned out for him. He's actually been a pretty good mentor to the community. Like anybody that was coming up in the tech space. Yeah, he'd tell him like what works and what doesn't, and here's something. He'd go watch your content, like he'd watch my content and tell me like, oh, here's some things where you could trim some fat off. Here's the time target that you want to shoot for and everything. It was like his advice was good. It was really sound and it made sense. So, are we getting the gun show?
I don't know. Samet Urbas says go to the gym.
Why does he go to the gym? Or was he talking to me or you?
I don't know, but I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm guessing he was talking to me.
I don't have abs or anything, but
because I'm the one that people usually say go to the gym because they have a fat phobia.
I think I'm good. Let's come arm wrestle. No, I don't mean I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything too. I'm just goofing with you, man.
Hey, next time I see you, I want to arm wrestle you, even though I know I'll lose. Because I just haven't arm wrestled.
Hey, look, I'm honestly not that strong. I did a lot of curls and stuff in high school and whatnot, and so I still have.
You know who's freak strong that you would never guess? Joel, 3D printing nerd.
Oh, I bet that dude's hucking freaking spools of plastic around all the time. That dude, I bet.
Dude, I arm wrestled him. I thought I was gonna snap his fucking arm off because I won 2 arm wrestling matches before I went up against him with dudes that had big ass biceps, and I was like, man, I'm gonna kick some ass. He fucked me up twice, like almost no effort.
I bet.
I was I was kind of surprised by that. He is freak strong, freak strong.
That sounds completely reasonable. Because dude, how many kilos of filament do you think that guy has squatted over the years? Like add it all up, thousands. Man, it's like tons and literal metric tons of filament. And that's it, man. I'm telling you, I was at my most fit when I worked for this guy. Actually, here another guy before I left for California. I would heft 120-pound servers by myself because I didn't want the FedEx guy to hurt himself. And the FedEx guy was like fit like fucking Lance Armstrong. Dude looked like a bicyclist, like just fit as.
Yeah, those guys will run with 100-pound on their shoulders.
I said, get out of here. I got this one, buddy. You're not supposed to lift more than 100 pounds as a FedEx guy. I got you. I'll take you. Monster 2U servers all the way up to the truck by myself. I got this. Just lift heavy things and put them back down. That's all you got to do. You're not gonna get swole unless you lift really, really heavy things. But just lift a few heavy things every once in a while. Pick them up, put them down. Pick them up, put them down. Keep doing that until you can't pick it up anymore. Try again tomorrow.
Yeah, I went through my tough guy phase when I was about 24. I went to the
pro
was
around
club.
That time. I
went to the pro club at Microsoft, and I'd go in there and pump iron with my buddies a couple times a week. And I went from, I think when I started, I was benching like 120, and when I ended, I was benching 285.
Damn,
so I almost got to 300, and I could bench that 5 times. And
nice.
And I was like, but it goes away so fast. I hurt my back, and I was out for like 3 months, and I came back, and I was already back to like benching 190 again. Like it goes away really fast.
Nice.
And so, but it was kind of cool because like when I went into there, it's like I could push 1,100 pounds with my legs. It was 7 plates on both sides of the sled.
That's my most little powerful thing. I'd in high school, I would max out the leg extension, the one where you sit and then you stretch your legs straight out like that.
Oh, damn. That one's actually pretty hard.
I maxed that thing out. That's like 750 pounds. And then we'd put plates. We'd put more of they had like these 8-pound little rubber blocks that you could put on there too.
Yeah, for me, it was the inverted press where you lay down on your back at a 45-degree angle and push.
Oh, man.
And I could put 7 45s on both sides. And to max it out, you couldn't fit any more on the bar. Yeah. And I could just do that like 10 reps, no problem. I mean, you can't straighten out your leg. Like if I did, my knee would explode. But no, I used to do that as like my little trick to show off at the gym, because you'd get these big guys in there and they could only push like 800 or 900. And I'd be like, oh yeah, let's throw 4 more plates on there. See if I can do it today. And they'd look at you like, you asshat. Like, what do you do? You're gonna kill your knees. You're gonna blow your back out. Probably should have listened.
Dude, like at that weight, like I could practically deadlift a Volkswagen Beetle at that point. Like that's a lot. I mean,
yeah. Well, actually, that's what I used to do. Is I could lift up the back of my Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
So my Ford Ranger, I couldn't pick up the front, but I could pick up the back. Like if I grabbed it by the bumper, I could squat.
That's still a good couple $100 easy, man.
Oh,
that's good stuff.
Yeah. No, I kind of miss being able to do that. But yeah, nowadays, I bet you I would struggle to bench even 100 pounds. Like my muscles are so fatigued. Like I don't know.
Hey man, you just start small, like a gallon of milk kind of thing.
Yeah, I wish I had.
It's 8 pounds.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do calisthenics when you're 380 pounds.
little bit. Like you're saying, you go downstairs, right? Go up and down the stairs 10 times. That's it.
No, that's
start there. Start there.
I got to do something. I definitely got to do something because my muscles are fatigued.
It's about the consistency, right? A lot of time, folk will try and start too high. You got to do something and pick one thing.
100%.
One thing. Just pick one thing to change. Like back in the day, I just stopped drinking soda. That helped. Not for any real purpose other than just like I don't want to drink soda anymore, and that helped a bunch from and. This is my teen years, so like there's a lot of other things going on that helped with this sort of thing.
When you're young, you build a lot faster.
It's so easy.
As you get older, it slows down.
That's why I still have this, is because I did it when I was young.
Yep.
I mean, I still do.
Well, my nephew, my nephew Austin, he does. He started doing calisthenics, which is like working with your own body weight.
Yeah,
Dude, he started doing 10 push-ups. He got up to 1,000 push-ups a day.
There you
go. He did it every single day. I was like, dude, he literally did this like for like an hour. He was just sitting there trying to show me that he could just, I can do this all day. Like I don't have to stop. And he's going fast like this. And I was like, holy shit. And he was like, he wasn't like ripped, but his muscle definition for his size was perfect.
That's a big difference too. Like, people, especially ladies. Oh, I don't want to lift. I don't want to lift weights because like I'm gonna get all yoked out and like I don't want to be fucking Amazon woman. You got to do a lot of work to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like strength training is hands down the best thing you can do.
I don't know. Kelly the Warrior looks pretty good when she's
Kelly the Warrior
out. You don't remember her? I thought you met her at. Oh no, you didn't go to Maker Faire. Never mind. Who am I thinking of? It was Zachariah that I was
Warrior. You say?
Here, let me go on. Let me
Kelly
see if I can find
the Warrior
her here. She is
that's
awesome.
That's from the movie The Warriors. I'm not talking about David Patrick Kelly. This is a different person. Is it this gal here? Kelly is for Warrior. No, that's a movie.
I'll find her here. Where is it? Am I logged
in? Kelly Thelian? No, that's Facebook. Weird. I just.
Oh no, I remember. She goes by Broke Ass Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Broke
Ass Wonder Woman.
See if I can find her on Twitter. I think that's her Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. It's been a while since I messaged her. I need to check in.
Nope. I'm seeing Broadcast Nerd, Broadcast Comics.
I hope she's still around. I haven't talked to her in a while. Let's see.
Oh, hold up.
Did you find her?
Maybe. Nope. Hold on. Go back. There's a video.
Yep, found her.
From Spectra TV. Okay.
Here she is. It's Kel the Warrior. Let me see.
Kel the Warrior.
Kel _ Warrior. So here, I'll just put it in chat. So everybody go follow her. She'll get a kick out of that. She is such a cool person too. Oh my god, she is just a really cool person.
Here we go. Yeah, on the tweeters here.
Let's see here.
See, she's pretty yoked out.
Yeah, she does like crazy like all kinds of crazy events, but she's like Viking woman.
She's showing minis and stuff on her tweeter here.
I know, I'm trying to find it. I don't know if she's still training, because I think the last time I saw her was about 5 years ago at Maker Faire. But no, she's pretty ripped. I mean, she had full set of abs, like really strong arms.
And of course, always the advice of calorie deficit, but
yeah,
lift things, put them down. Lift things, put them down. Like,
yeah, she doesn't on her Twitter. She doesn't have a lot of pictures anymore. She used to have tons and tons of pictures. Let's see.
But
anyway, yeah. she looked good when she was like training. Like, she looks good regardless. But when she was trained, I mean, she was super fit, super fit. And I was like, damn, that's awesome. But she was really, really nice too. She was I met her at Midwest Rep Festival, I think is the first place I met her, over on the East Coast, the Maker Faire. And she was there with Spectra 3D because she worked with him, the Jerry guy with the beard. Have you ever seen the picture where the beard's photoshopped onto me?
I think so. Yeah,
that was her like business partner.
Oh, cool.
That was his beard that got photoshopped onto me. And but she's really, really cool guy. She also did my Barnacules.
Nice.
My big Buddha that I have that's like all that has all the painting on it with like the metallics and the bronze and everything. She did that. She painted that. So no, absolutely killer. Go give her a follow. I need to check in with her though. I haven't talked to her in a long time. Vlad, thank you for that $10 super chat. He said Barnacules is the GOAT. Greatest of all time. I don't know about that. He said always looking out for his subs when it comes to Windows, even if they're new like myself. Everybody thinks that this is what's funny too, is like everybody, this is that binary thing, and everybody thinks I hate Microsoft because I like rip on Microsoft, but it's like everything I own runs Windows. My entire career is based on programming for this platform. I don't hate Windows. I don't hate Microsoft. I'm just critical of their shit when they fuck it up. That's it. Like can I be critical of something without being like A or B? It's like, oh my God, dude.
I've that's a thing. That's part of the issues these days too. Is just being critical immediately means like you hate it. It's like, what? No. Like, how else is something supposed to improve if you don't criticize it? Like, this could be better. This could be better. Like, what?
It's like, look at iPhone 11, iPhone 12, iPhone 13. Like, where's the innovation? Like, iPhones used to innovate like heavily between generations, and it's like people are just so protective of the brand and so loyal. It's like, oh my God, but they support right to repair now, and look at how all their components are like compartmentalized and have their individual shields. And it's like, yeah, but you still have to they have to send you 150 pounds of equipment to like swap out the screen to do like self-repair. It's like they're being annoying about it. But that's the problem, that people don't realize that's how Microsoft failed the phone market. Did you know Microsoft actually led the phone market at one time? Like not with the Windows Phone everybody remembers. I'm talking about Windows Mobile 6, back with the business phones back in the early 2000s, where you'd slide out the keyboard and you had like a full Windows CE operating system on there that you could do stuff and have your Rolodex and connect to Active Directory. It was the only phone that did it. Like BlackBerry didn't even do that. And they basically didn't evolve that platform for like 4 years. It was just they released new phones with faster processors and bigger specs, but it was the same operating system. They didn't change the software. It looked dated. It looked antiquated. And so here comes the iPhone, the first generation iPhone, and it literally looks like it's like 50 years ahead in innovation because they never updated anything. They got complacent because they didn't have any competition. And if they had just kept evolving it like with the hardware instead of just keeping the same old operating system and just repackaging it in a new peripheral, they would have been competitive. Apple wouldn't have been able to blow them over so easily.
Yeah.
And then when they came back around to enter into the phone market, they basically bought Nokia, killed it, ruined an entire town, backed away from it, canceled the project, and walked away. So it's like Microsoft has tried how many times to release a phone? They released the Kin. Remember the Kin? That was the biggest like epic failure ever. I think it was on the market for a week, and they pulled it. After like 2 years of development. Like, it was on the market for a week. Yeah, it was one of those weird phones where you had to buy a special plan because Microsoft wanted to get extra money. So it's like, if you could buy the Kin phone, which is really this advanced piece of technology, but you had to buy a more expensive plan. It wouldn't work with a regular phone plan. Jeez. So that died off, and then you could buy those things for like $5 on eBay for a long time. And then they did the Windows Phone. Was the Windows Phone 7? And then they did the Windows Phone where they finally moved it to the Windows 8 kernel. So it used to be an individual like operating system, its own operating system, but then it started running Windows 10 so that you could create apps in .NET that would run on Windows, Xbox, and the phone. And they finally got to that point where it's like, oh my God, this is a perfect developer's platform. Like, this is the trifecta. And as soon as they did that, they only had like, I think 4% of the market share, and they just shut the whole thing down. And I was like, that's what Microsoft does, man. They do something, they get it like right on the precipice of being super, super good, and then they just abandon it.
That's
same thing with tablets. Do you think the iPad is the OG pad? No, go back and look at the compact TC1000.
Right.
The compact TC1000 was, I think that was released in like 2001 or 2002. It was a Windows XP full color screen tablet with a pen that you could draw on it. And I mean, it was thick and it was heavy and the battery lasted for like an hour, but no, it was the precursor to the iPad like years and years and years and years earlier. But it was just so expensive that nobody could afford it. The battery life was absolutely garbage. And the way that it docked a keyboard meant that you basically had to haul around, you know, the same amount of peripherals you would with a regular laptop. So it just wasn't very effective. But if they had stayed on that road, seeing as important as tablets are today,
oh yeah,
they would have perfected that. Like you give them another 3 years, they would have predated the iPad by years and years and years with something that was much better. But nope, they were just like, too expensive and nobody's buying them. And so, oh man, it makes me mad. So that's why I'm critical of Microsoft, because Microsoft has a really bad habit of putting shitloads of money into R&D, creating a breathtaking product that just has some pretty severe shortcomings just because it's ahead of its time. And then instead of waiting for the hardware to catch up with it, they just dump it. And then another company picks it up when the hardware is finally ready and mature for it. And they get all the credit. I guarantee you, Microsoft created the first iPhone. Microsoft created the first iPad. I mean, in conjunction with the companies that made the hardware. I mean, they did the software and they did the hardware. But those things were created. It just nobody remembers them because they were so goddamn expensive and slow. So... somebody wanted us to talk about the CO2 into graphene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Graphene is that material that they've been promising us. Graphene super material going to change the world and create the space elevators and stuff. And it's like that. It never really went anywhere.
It's like mass. You got to mass produce the stuff. Has always been the trouble, right?
They already do. They mix it into like concrete. That's the only use I've ever seen for graphene in like a commercial application is they mix it in with concrete to make it strong.
Fast, cheap way to produce high quality graphene with relatively simple equipment for use in electronic circuits, gas sensors, optics, and beyond. Chemical vapor deposition is the standard technology for synthesizing graphene, the one atom thick sheet of carbon atoms in a honeycomb arrangement with unparalleled properties useful for electronics and applications and more. CVD usually involves carbon atoms breaking off gas molecules and settling on a substrate as a monolayer in a vacuum chamber. Copper is a popular substrate, and the gases used have always been hydrocarbons: methane, propane, acetylene, spirits, etc. The idea is to synthesize graphene from carbon monoxide came a long time ago, since that gas is one of the most convenient carbon sources, blah, 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 for the growth of single-walled, blah, blah, blah. Took a long time to understand how to control the nucleation and growth, blah, 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 blah. The beauty of carbon monoxide is in its exclusively catalytic decomposition, which allowed us to implement self-limiting synthesis of large crystals of single-layer graphene, even at ambient temperature. Or ambient pressure. Projects, blah, blah, blah. New method benefits from the principle of so-called self-limiting. At high temperatures, carbon monoxide molecules tend to break up into carbon and oxygen atoms when they come in close proximity to the copper substrate.
Once like the first experimental layer, or is this like they're actually doing it? Because this kind of sounds like another one of those like, oh, this might be the future of graphene, but like nobody's actually made a lot with it yet.
Let's see. Rules of combustion risks means no vacuum. Okay, so it's better than like using methane because methane can explode. And
plus
also
fossil fuels are limited and expensive, right? Yeah. Carbon monoxide's like everywhere.
So
you just pull that shit out of our atmosphere.
you don't need the vacuum for the carbon monoxide thing.
Well, that's okay. So it's not as energy intensive then. Pulling a vacuum is pretty energy intensive.
After rigorous testing, we can say with confidence that ours is indeed high-grade graphene that can compete with the material produced via CVD from other gases. The resulting material is crystalline, pure, and comes in pieces large enough to be used in electronics. Besides the standard applications of graphene as such, there are intriguing possibilities for using graphene bound to the copper substrate without clearing away the metal. So that's part of the deal, right? Is you take away the copper because you want that one atom sheet.
Yeah, I mean that's why graphene. That's what gives graphene its strength, right? Is that lattice framework, and it's so thin, right? It's one atom thin.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get any thinner than that for a material, and the strength is stronger than I think per weight, right? It's the strongest material ever made.
I think so. Yeah, that's part of the
carbon.
deal.
It's like the most perfect arrangement of atoms and carbon.
Interesting. So they're saying like it's cool because like if we don't strip the copper away, compared with methane, carbon monoxide has a very high energy of adhesion to metal. This means that as deposition occurs, graphene both protects the copper layer from chemical reactions and endows it with structure, creating a highly developed metal surface that has great catalytic properties. Some other metals, such as ruthenium and palladium, which BT dubs, I thought was a fake thing that they just had in Iron Man. I looked that shit up. I looked that up because I can't remember. I think we were talking about something to do with Marvel, and I looked that shit up. And palladium is a legit thing. How cool is that? That
cracks me up because I literally thought the exact same thing. I was on Twitch doing a stream like a month ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and you had to create this special thing called palladium or whatever, like in the video. And they're like, "That's a real element." I was like, "No, it isn't." I went, "Look, it is. Palladium's real."
Apparently, man. You go palladium mines and shit, like it's a thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So I guess to open an avenue for novel materials with unusual surfaces. So neat. So yeah, no, this is a legit thing. This is a way that they can produce it cheaper. It says since the vacuum is no longer needed, the equipment not just works faster but also becomes cheaper. Quote, once you drop the high-end hardware for generating ultra-high vacuum, you can actually assemble our garage solution, quote, for no more than $1,000.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that is much cheaper than the alternative.
That's cool.
The easiest way to create graphene
U.S. education, bite my ass. Nobody's gonna know the entire fucking periodic table.
Why would you memorize the periodic table if you're not a scientist?
That is no symptom of the U.S. education. Okay, that is the fact that I don't need to know every chemical element on the periodic table by heart. That would, in fact, if I had memorized the entire periodic table, that would go further to discredit the U.S. education system. Why do I need to know that shit?
Ozzy's like, I knew that. Ozzy's a troll, though. We've seen all Ozzy's messages for the entire stream. He's just a troll.
Sorry, but like that's the most outrageously useless thing to know. Like what possible
Just remember, if you memorize the entire periodic table, you just lost a piece of actual useful information.
Of like, man.
It's like, do you read the phone book too?
This is one of those things that.
Also, what the hell was palladium even used in? Like
probably electronics and stuff. Probably my catalytic converter, like electronics and stuff.
Platinum. Palladium a heavy metal? Let's see here. What is palladium used for? All right.
Is rare and here, Mr. I memorized the periodic table. What's palladium used for?
Yeah, what's it used for?
No, I didn't.
Take him
I knew that at 10.
To respond while he goes to Google.
Right. Blah de blah, blah de blah, compounds, blah de blah, currents, applications.
Yeah, multi-layer ceramic capacitors.
I was right. The largest use of palladium today is in catalytic converters. It's also used in jewelry, dentistry, watchmaking, blood sugar test strips, aircraft spark plugs, surgical instruments, and electrical contacts.
Oh wow,
palladium is also
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Palladium is also used to make professional transverse concert or classical flutes. You could get an entire flute made out of palladium. That sounds incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Holy cow. As a commodity, palladium bullion has ISO currency codes of XPD and 964. Palladium is one of only 4 metals to have such codes, the others being gold, silver, and platinum. Because it absorbs hydrogen, palladium is a key component of the controversial cold fusion experiments of the late 1980s.
Oh, wow. They actually use it for hydrogen storage.
Yeah.
Because it absorbs hydrogen up to 900 times its volume. So you can actually use palladium to store hydrogen in the metal, in suspension in the metal.
So not absorb. Okay. I thought they misspelled this, and I'm like, dude, Wikipedia has a typo. I don't think so. Adsorbs. So adsorption is the adhesion of atoms, ions, or molecules from a gas, liquid, or dissolved solid to a surface. So hydrogen literally binds to the palladium. That's neat.
There's a material that's even more absorbent of hydrogen. And I watched a video on it like a couple of weeks ago on YouTube where a guy created a car. He's a really controversial figure, so like take it with a grain of salt. But the technology is actually sound. And that is, he had to figure out how to store a lot of hydrogen, because hydrogen is very high pressure gas.
Sure.
Like to store hydrogen, compressed hydrogen, not liquid hydrogen, but even liquid hydrogen, it would be good for generating electricity, not so good for burning in a car. Like it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. So to make a car safe, you don't want to be hauling liquid or even gaseous hydrogen. You want to have it in a safe space where it can't blow up. And the only hydrogen that's ever in the car is when it's ready to be burned. And so they have this material that they put in the tanks where they basically they pump in hydrogen, and the material absorbs the hydrogen, pulling a vacuum, because it's actually absorbing the gas into the material. And then what you do to get it to come back out of the material is you heat the tank to like 300 degrees. And when you heat the tank, like the tank has heaters on it, when it heats to 300 degrees, that creates the catalyst or whatever that starts releasing the hydrogen from the substrate. And you basically have these containers that are very low pressure that contain a huge volume of hydrogen. And the only hydrogen that's being generated is what's going out of the tube, out of the tank, into be burned in the engine. So that if you get in a wreck or something, it's not going to blow up into a huge fireball. And I didn't know that was the thing. Like, I did not know that you could create materials for storing gas.
Yeah.
Like, that was a new one to me. I always thought gas, you had to store it at pressure, or you had to pressurize it till it becomes a liquid so that you can store it in its densest state. I didn't know that you could just like take these other materials. This one wasn't palladium. This was some other material. But I didn't know that you could like take a material that would just absorb hydrogen. Like if you fed in hydrogen, it would just absorb it like a sponge and hold on to it until you heated it to let it go. I was like, dude, that is crazy. Yeah. That was it. Bob Lazar's Corvette. Baz, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's an older video on YouTube. Actually, it looks like an old video. I don't think it's that old of a video. But Bob Lazar, basically, he claims he created his own particle accelerator for creating the material that you can't buy. Like, you can legally own the material, you can't buy it because it's used in nuclear bombs. It's one of the components used in fission. But this is the material that stores hydrogen, and that's why it's used in a hydrogen bomb. And so he synthesized his own material. And then he created a hydrogen generator that just takes his garden hose and uses electrolysis to separate out the hydrogen, and it purges off the oxygen, and then it just pumps the hydrogen in the tanks overnight and lets the material slowly absorb it. It's just, I did not know I did not know that you could store hydrogen like that. Like, I'm like, why isn't everything? But he's saying the reason that this isn't a technology that's being used in cars right now, even though he claims his car goes like 400 miles on a 8-hour charge basically of hydrogen. Right. He claims the reason why people aren't using this is because the material required to manufacture these cars is banned because it's a nuclear weapon, like it's nuclear weapons grade material. But he's like, if they would drop that law and allow people to synthesize it, it's not that hard to synthesize. People can get the equipment to do it, and it would allow the safe storage of hydrogen, which is the number one problem why you don't see a lot of hydrogen cars. Because you either have to store the hydrogen in a gaseous state, which is super, super dangerous, or a liquid state, which is also super, super, but not quite as dangerous. Let's see here. You memorized enough to pass the test and grade. Good enough. Well-rounded person, I think. Yeah, I don't remember having to ever memorize the entire periodic table to pass any test in school. Like, science class didn't even require that. Like, you had to know like some of the elements, like the important elements. But there's a lot of elements on the periodic table that have very limited, if any, use.
Right, like Americanium or Californium and stuff.
Yeah, like actually, Californium has some pretty good uses.
Whatever.
Not to you or I though. I mean, I'm talking like particle accelerators and shit they use it in, but that's it.
Yeah, I
know there's some materials on there too that are like the noble materials that don't react.
Argon and neon, all those ones on the far right hand side. See, like, I don't know enough about it. I remember some of it. All those ones on the far right hand side are noble gases. They don't react to anything.
I mean, I remember there was a song. I remember there was a song where you could remember all of them. Like,
for the gases, you mean?
For the periodic table.
Oh, get out of here.
There was a song that was like, it was that xenon something, blah, 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 and hydrogen. I remember back in school that was like the teacher could do that, but like nobody else could. Like, nobody's going to remember that. Let's see here. Jake Anderpin said I passed AP Physics and AP Chem. Even we did not need to memorize the entire periodic table.
Man, you don't need to know the whole thing. It's like,
because some of the elements on there are synthetic. Like, they don't exist in nature. Like, we create them as a byproduct of processes we do.
All those extra ones along the bottom.
Yeah.
The 2 rows.
Californium and stuff. Yeah.
There's like 2 rows along the bottom.
Does Californium have a Prop 65 warning too?
Yeah, right.
I had a Prop 65 warning on my TV from Costco. It literally says it has a giant warning sticker on the side of my TV. It says this is known to cause cancer. I'm like, my TV's known to cause cancer.
Only in California, though.
Only in California. That's right. I'm not in California, so it's not going to cause cancer. Well, guys, it's 2:02. It's time to wrap it up.
Out of here.
It's time to wrap it up, man.
I'm done. I'm done.
You seem pissed, dude. Are you pissed? Are you mad right now?
I'm mad at the elements.
Are you just gonna start swinging, or you can go get a periodic table?
I'm gonna find Ozzy Bogan, and I'm gonna get him. Yeah, I'm gonna find a group of weirdos just like me on the internet to get me all riled up, and I'm gonna go get them.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for hanging out.
Fuck you.
Yeah, eat it. Eat the D.
Hey,
guys, I had fun. Thank you so much for the super chats. We really do appreciate that. Helps us keep us going. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys again next week. Although, if you guys want to hang out with us tomorrow, we're gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons with Mr. David Hewlett and Mr. James Gurney.
Oh, do we live stream that? Where is that? That's on Twitch.
I don't know where. Did we do that last time? We'll probably get some info tonight.
Because I need to. If we did last time, I need to go back and watch it so I can dial in my voice again. I forget kind of how it went. I know I kind of turned into like an old Texan. I think
you were like developing it as you went.
Yeah, it turned into it went a little more southern than I had intended.
Dude, that game got so morbid, man. It got so morbid. Like, I can't wait to pick it up because I think it's like we started out as heroes and then we were like decapitating, torturing, and like resurrecting,
pushed some guy off a cliff or something.
Yeah, and then like resurrected him and then like stole his shit and then David cut his head off.
You guys are
weird.
It
was bad. It was really bad.
We basically
started as heroes and ended as like Charles Manson.
Hey man, that's all right.
That's how D&D goes, though. That's how D&D goes. All right, so guys, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Barnacules and at AuxxZillary. We will let you know about the D&D game tomorrow if you want to join us. Probably be around the same time as we did Tech Talk today. We're just doing that for fun, and you'll find the link to wherever it's streaming. It's probably going to be streaming over on David's channel or James's channel or something like that if you guys want to watch. But we're just doing it because we have fun playing D&D, and it's like a great way to unwind. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for listening to our babbling and shit. And if you want to see us during the week doing our own respective things, you can find the links in the video description to our Twitch channels, where I basically just rant endlessly for like 4 or 5 hours and ban dozens of people, and AuxxZillary attempts to build computers while sassing people in the comments. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. You guys should try it. All right, take it easy, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace out. A-Town. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, copyright strike. Damn it. Let me see if it's going to stop.